What's going on? We got some new technology. We got a little new look for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to start off right away with this. Week 15 in the NFL, by far the biggest week, by far the most entertaining, the most intense, and the most fun. We literally saw the biggest comeback in NFL history, the dumbest ending to a game in NFL history. We saw some playoff hopes get absolutely destroyed, some playoff hopes get alive, and a lot of good in between. What was that, like 7, 8 games decided within the last drive or was decided in overtime? Good stuff. So let's get to it because we have a lot to talk about. Desmond, Bryan, Alex, Ranniello, and there, I did say everybody. Alex Young will be joining us shortly. What's going on, everyone?
How you doing, everyone? Thank you for having me.
Great games in the NFL this week. 12 out of the 16 were one-score games.
That's what I'm talking about. And so much history between, and I don't even know where to start. Did I hear a wait? Oh, that's how exciting it was. I'm just hearing things. With this historic week in the NFL, again, hard to say where to start with, but let's give some praise to Alex Ranniello on this one. Somebody who has been a good sport all season long. This time, your team is on the other side of history. So the Raiders and the Patriots played on a Sunday afternoon out in Las Vegas, Nevada. The score wound up being 30-24 Raiders. The Patriots lose on, quite frankly, whether you want to say it's the dumbest, the most questionable, the stupidest, the mind-numbing play known as the very final drive, when the game was tied, and we see the Patriots trying to run down the field. We see a lateral, which is confusing. No need. It wasn't. They weren't that desperate to score. It was a tie game. Could have ran out the clock and tested in overtime, but no. We saw Stevenson throw to Jacoby Myers. Then Jacoby Myers, I guess, was throwing to Mac Jones. Not even close. Jacoby Myers has an pass intercepted. Chandler Jones, the former Patriot, takes it. He trucks Mac Jones, truly posterizes him, and that ultimately leads to a Raiders victory. It leads to possibly the end of the Patriots season. I don't know how Mac Jones can step out of his house anymore after that. This was as funny if you're not a Patriots fan and as disastrous if you are one. So first, we'll have to throw it to the Raiders fan. How did you feel about this historic play that nobody will ever forget? Did anybody here, did they coin it? Miracle in the Vegas or anything like that? I don't think so.
The fact that Vegas still exists is a miracle, so we'll throw that one off the table. But I want to take credit for watching this game to the end. I actually did shut it off before the second to last drive because I was so disgusted by 2 first downs in the second half. This horrendous, anemic offense. With that said, I thought that New England wasted a great opportunity. They shut down Devontae, kept him under 50 yards. Max Crosby was quiet off the edge. They did a lot of great things in terms of scheming and game planning, and they just threw it out the window. I mean, even Stevenson was 19 for 172 and a touchdown. But, there may have been their magic. It may just be a residue of some of the design they had throughout the season that they just kind of lost in one-score games. But I can't take full credit for the game because if we're going to be honest here, that catch was totally out of bounds and touched in the end zone. So it should have never gotten to that point. But, sometimes the refs, sometimes they go Stevie Wonder on us. So I'm glad we're on the other end of this one.
Yes, that was definitely a huge deciding factor in this. And another tough call not going the Patriots side. But again, you get 6 Super Bowl rings in 20 years. I think it evens out at some point.
I mean, all the calls that have gone their way over the years, like karma has to swing back eventually. The Tuck rule. I mean,
oh my God.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
So no, I think the pendulum has to swing back a little bit. I'll give myself credit, being the person on the panel here who picked the Raiders to win. Also saying that it would be the last game of the year that they would win. So we'll see if that pans out. But yeah, man, the Patriots offense is horrendous. We've seen this. I mean, Mac Jones barely cleared 100 passing yards. I mean, without Ramondre Stevenson, they wouldn't really have had that much, so I don't think either of these teams are going to the postseason, but it was nice to see the Raiders get one more win this season, especially against the Patriots. That play was amazing. I hope that there will be posters made forever of Chandler Jones stiff arming Mac Jones into the ground, because it was incredible. I couldn't believe what was happening. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, fantastic ending. I loved it.
It was hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
I'll make my one comment for this game. After watching the Raiders, I think of another team that is on the side of Lady Luck this season, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. And they're the identical team. The Minnesota Vikings and the Las Vegas Raiders are the exact same teams. Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, equally about the same. Josh Jacobs, Dalvin Cook, and then terrible defenses. Just one has luck and the other one doesn't this year. And it's a shame, but kudos to them. They kept the game, even though the run game absolutely got destroyed by Ramondre Stevenson. They kept it within bounds and they did what they had to do. And at the end of the day, that last play was the summary of this Patriots team this year, and that's utter dysfunction and confusion and players just trying to stay alive and relevant on this roster to be able to make another team's roster next season, because they're blowing up this offense. Jacoby Myers is like, let me try to make a play, try to see anything. We can't get anything done with a normal play call on offense. We have to do some schoolyard bullshit. It didn't work out. I feel bad for Mac Jones because he had no idea that ball was coming to him. Then you had big Chandler Jones just putting his entire hand straight down his throat. So he didn't deserve that. But I can't wait for that 8x10 to be put up on someone's wall one day.
Yes, and we have Alex Young joining us. Good to see you, Alex. As you could probably guess what we're talking about to start the show.
I do find it real quick before Alex Young goes, I just want to say I do find it ironic that that Belichick lost by the exact same thing that he's made his money on, which is situational football and second half adjustments. And I think that they really expose the fact that they can't do that with this current coaching staff. And I think that in the offseason, the point of emphasis before even firing some of these offensive pieces surrounding Mac Jones is getting an offensive coordinator, getting that team back on track offensively.
And, I just thought about it. When's the last time that a Belichick disciple has beaten, Belichick? I was just thinking about that.
Ryan Flores last year, the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Did he do it? He did do it? Okay. Because I know it's very few times it's happened. So,
and kudos to the playoffs. But I reckon that was a player. But yeah, Bill Belichick looking like more of an old man every day. Man, Alex Young, how did you feel about seeing this stiff arm heard around the world? I'm going to point at that.
As you guys know, I was pissed because I wanted to start the show laughing at Alex again. But that didn't happen. So I was disappointed, but it was awesome. I mean, I love seeing the Patriots lose and the way they lost. I was like, oh, maybe the Raiders, they got revenge for the Tuck rule. And it was just a weird ending to that game. But yeah, I mean, I think you guys all hit your points. My own thing was I wanted to laugh at Alex again because it's been fun these last few weeks to laugh at the Raiders' misery. But the Raiders finally got a win, so good on them. And they won in a weird circumstance that shouldn't have happened. I don't know why no one ran out of bounds or went into overtime. Don't know, it was weird, but happy it happened because it was just hilarious. It was all like, why did it go into overtime? But it was the miracles. So.
It was the best 48 hours to be a Raiders fan in Connecticut, so close to Boston.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it was the other way around? They really would have to disband after that. 100%. If you see Max Crosby, if you see like Devontae Adams throwing it midfield,
brutal
or something. Well, this is your day to remember forever. So good stuff, Alex, for your Raiders. Now, we talked about the dumbest play in NFL history. Now let's talk about the greatest regular season comeback. The Colts and the Vikings play on a Saturday afternoon. I don't know. For me, I was just traveling around. I listened to most of the game, figuring, I'm just going to be another game, and nobody thought it was going to be as intense as it was. At one point, It was 36-7 in the third quarter, and the game ends in overtime, 39-36. Kirk Cousins leads a 33-point comeback. And wow, you got to give credit to Kirk Cousins, 1 o'clock on a Saturday. For all the shit he gets, he really, really put his team into it, giving many people the ball. You saw Dalvin Cook run for his life. And then on the other side, you saw the Colts just collapse on defense. Jeff Saturday's inexperience seems to really be catching up with him. And I guess the real question here is, how do you feel if you're Matt Ryan now? Giving up, and it's been said already, but being a part of a team that has caused the biggest collapse in Super Bowl history. We have in Super Bowl 51, Patriots and Falcons. His defense blows that. And then obviously week 15 in the 2022 NFL season, his defense blows that one as well. So lots to get into and soak in here. But does anybody feel after a 460-yard game performance with 4 touchdowns, and Dalvin Cook running for 95 yards? We have KJ Osborne having a hell of a game with Justin Jefferson. I know people say the Vikings are as fraudulent as it gets, but after having the biggest comeback in regular season history for the NFL, does anybody take them a little more seriously? Or no, they just took advantage of a team that is truly in shambles?
I'm going to say that this proves that I think that they're not frauds. I think they're a good team. I just think that they're extremely lucky and they get very streaky. This team has the greatest comeback in regular season history, but then put up I think had to be maybe the largest point differential ever in the Dallas Cowboy game this year against them. So it's like everything and anything could happen to this team. They could win, they could get blown out. There's just so much unknown variables. I don't know what it is. Maybe they change the water between home and away games, or like Kirk Cousins, if he doesn't have enough drip on, he doesn't play well. But, they're just so unpredictable. This team could, it's like when they had Case Keenum as at a quarterback and they had that miraculous run. This team could make a miraculous run, or they could lose in the first round. They're such a wild card. It's a shame they aren't an actual wild card seed, because it'd be so fitting of them. They are the most toxic, amazing, beautiful, miraculous, travesty, horrible team I've ever seen in my life. It's just so night and day at all times.
Yeah. I think they're frauds still, because you go down 33 to the Colts and need a miracle comeback to win. Now you picture that against the Eagles team. Any of these playoff teams, you think the Vikings will come back from 33 against any of the good teams that are in the playoffs? Absolutely. And that's my takeaway. More. It was awesome to see that comeback. I was at a family party with my fiance. It was awesome. We all were hyped up. We're like, oh my God, this is incredible. But then when you're looking at it from a serious standpoint, you're like, they gave up 33 first half points or whatever it was to the Colts. One of the worst teams we've seen all year. And now you put that into a playoff perspective of, if this team plays, like I said, any of those playoff teams, and they come out like that, there's no way they're repeating what they did. And that's why I think they're frauds. When it comes playoff time, what they're doing right now is awesome. Like I said, coming back, we all love seeing comebacks and all that as football fans. It's great. But they won't be able to come off slow in the playoffs and try to do this again. There's no way in hell. And that's why I think they're still a fraudulent team. This win did not impress me.
It's the offense can't be underestimated. Obviously, when you have a top 10 running back and a top 5 wide receiver, I mean, you're going to be able to put up points every single week. But the defense is what should worry everyone. I mean, they are number 28 in the league in points per game allowed. So only 4 teams are worse than them. You can't be going into the playoffs as an 11-3 team with a bottom 5 defense and points allowed. And so, yeah, I mean, it's great that they had this comeback. It's going to be one for the history age. I mean, it was the biggest comeback in NFL history, regular season or postseason. No one can take that away from you. But at the same time, it's like your defense is not sustainable. So it's great that you can score 30 points a game. But if you're giving up 30 points a game, then you're always hoping that you're going to eke it out. And as Alex Young was saying, when you get to the playoffs, you're not going to be able to do that against other teams who are just as good, if not better than you. So, I mean, great regular season team. I think they get bounced in the first round still. Defense just horrendous.
So, as usual, for the past 10 weeks, I'll be the one lone Minnesota apologist. I think that when we look back at this game, yeah, it was a miraculous comeback and one for the history books. But I still think that there's a lot for Minnesota to hang its hat on. There's always going to be one team or two teams every playoff run that have, a fraudulent or a weak unit in their team. And, that may be their defense. And they have, multiple ways to win on offense. And I think that's good enough to kind of overcome these things, even with a slower pace as the playoffs comes around. I think it really comes down to matchups. If you can exploit matchups, whether it's a corner like Brian has alluded to with the Cowboys, particularly this year, or a weak side on the defensive line where you could get an edge. I think that Kevin O'Connell has proved himself as coach of the year, I believe, to be able to adjust and scheme for a second half where they could take advantage of that on offense. So I really think it comes down to coaching in this league, particularly when we talk about second half adjustments. And I think that if they get the right matchup in the playoffs, I think that they could be proven just as good as they've been able to be. And I think that a lot of this has to do with just, execution, because they didn't have to come back from that deficit, but they made the plays they needed to. And I think, in addition to that, I think Indianapolis accruing 11 penalties for 100+ yards, I think helped them expedite that process as well.
Couldn't agree with you more. I mentioned this to you all in our group chat, and I wanted to ask the audience this as well. After watching this game, I think there needs to be a statistical change when it comes to passing yards for quarterbacks.
Oh, here we go.
Kirk Cousins had 460 passing yards. His pure passing yards was not 460 yards. Dalvin Cook broke off, I think it was like a 50 or 60-yard screen pass. KJ Osborne had like a 60-yard screen pass. Why is it that yards after contact or yards after catch count towards the quarterback? Because if you look at this game by Kirk Cousins, he had an amazing game, 460 passing yards, 4 TDs to 2 interceptions, 99.3 quarterback rating. Yet, if you really take away those yards, he had a shitty game, average game. He had a comeback. He made the throws he won. But his athletes, his receivers, his running backs, his tight ends got the yards, not him. And he's going to get credited for this win and not the players. And that aggravates me. I think there needs to be a statistical change in how we count passing yards.
So you just want to count air yards then?
Passing yards should be pure air yards, in my opinion. And then there should be a separate stat on yards after catch, and that should be for the receiver. It's the same thing with bobbled interceptions. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not a passing yard. It's at that point the ball's caught already. It's getting run. You know what I mean?
I want to make a quick point too about Minnesota is that we may be able to shit on this defense and whatnot, but it really does come down to situational football and making the plays at the right time. Because when Kansas City won their Super Bowl, they had a lackluster defense, including on their front four. This is pre Chris Jones and Frank Clark. I think that I think it's just about making enough plays and coming up with the second half adjustments that are needed. Because the one thing we don't talk about per se is that Kevin O'Connell and Jeff Saturday are both rookie coaches. It just came to a matter of getting guys adjusted and ready to come out in the second half and make those plays.
Yeah, but the thing that separates that Chiefs team was that they had an outstanding offense. And I know there's a lot of weapons here, but you have Patrick Mahomes compared to Kirk Cousins. Kind of changes the perception a little bit for the team. I know you like to be the Vikings apologist, but try to compare them to the Chiefs.
Really don't.
Hey, every show needs a Vikings apologist.
Really hard.
Really hard. Alex made himself the guy there. He's a Vikings apologist here on there. We'll toss it from here on out.
I got pushed in a corner.
Yeah, we all will look to him when they get bounced in the first round as to why that might have been the case.
Yeah, it's apparently I'm also the
Minnesota
Cowboy apologist somehow because the Cowboys fan over here just keeps dunking on his own team.
Listen, I'm realistic. I'm realistic.
Yes. Before we have some fun with that, I want to talk about the New York Football Giants, where we saw Daniel Jones get his first primetime victory. They defeat the Washington Commanders and now are just one win away officially to securing a playoff position after that. How about that? Seems you reckon maybe this time the referees help the Giants, especially the final play of the game. Won't discredit that. But you know what? A win's a win. Sometimes the ball rolls your way. And for a Giants team where it seems like that never was the case for the past 10 years, it's finally our time to get a win and maybe get some help along the way with it. So with the Giants securing this victory and officially hitting their over this year, I'll give it to Alex. How'd you feel about the Giants this week? Whether it's Saquon playing a good game, the breakout game for Kayvon Thibodeau, Daniel Jones staying composed and everything. What do we think?
I was happy you guys all knew that. Should a flag been thrown at the end of that game for sure. I think the McLaurin thing really needs to get looked at. I think we need to get an actual report of what happened there on that final play. But I'm happy that the flag finally went in the Giants' favor, right? And there was different moments for both sides. You can make arguments for both teams on the egregious missed calls. There's egregious hands in the face for Thibodeau, who's having a breakout game. They didn't call that. There was Richie James getting flattened on a crossing route. They didn't call that, right? So there was a lot of mismanaged officiating, and that's how officiating's been this year throughout the whole league. I'm happy it went in the Giants' favor this time around. But just looking at the bright spots, I said first quarter, this is Thibodeau's breakout game, right? You guys all saw it. I think it was fantastic what he was doing. This is why he got selected so high. And I hope he continues wreaking havoc. He was a game changer. He fired up that defense, and that's what they needed to do. That tie a few weeks ago, Heineke was in the throws, having time to make those throws late. This time he was rushing. It helped in the second half, and Thibodeau was a big part of that. And Jones did what he needed to do to keep. He was a game manager. And then lastly, for me, the positive was seeing Saquon just rip off those runs late in the game when it mattered most. He was just like 14 yards, 14 yards, 14 yards. And it was just great to see that when it mattered most, everyone showed up. And lately, for the Giants, at least for the last 5 years, when we have the momentum, we give it right back and we lose games late. And it was happy to see the Giants going on a nice drive to solidify the win. Seeing how fired up this team is, and the fact that we're here, one pretty much win away of locking a playoff spot, is great. It's been a fun run, but this last game, I think, showed that the future is very bright with the Giants as it is with the Jets as well in New York, which is shocking to say that both New York teams have a bright future. But
All
here we
three.
and it's been great. And like I said, I hope to see Kayvon keep on doing this because this is why we drafted in July. And it was fun to see it. Like even my uncles, my dad, all of you guys know, but my dad has seen tickets for the Giants at the Polo Grounds. We've had them in our family for a really long time. My uncles are like, who just came out of my duo right now? And I know it's early to say, but like what he was doing reminded all of us of LT, right? Like he was just every single play. It was like, oh my God, he's there. Like, oh, they're running the ball again. He's in the backfield making the tackle. He's rushing the quarterback. So hope this keeps up. It was a breakout game. I think he's excited. I think all of us are excited to see what happens against the Vikings this week. But overall, just a fun game for Giants fans.
Yeah, Alex, I think you said everything that needed to be said. Playing with house money from here on out. We do have an exciting future ahead, and let's go for it. Let's just try to get this postseason experience, if anything. And as you said, we need to at least win one of the next 3 games, which includes a Vikings team that Alex Ranniello will definitely be supporting. We have a Colts team that we really need them to keep their disaster streak alive. And of course, we have the Eagles. And if it does go to that game, we'll see if they will be resting their players or not. But chances are high for a Big Blue. So let's enjoy the ride. That's all we can ask for at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to give credit to the Giants' offensive line. In my opinion, they held the second best defensive line outside of Philadelphia to no sacks this game, and that's pretty amazing. In my opinion, the key for Washington's win would have been to have 3 sacks, and they got none. And that's what we see. We see a close game that, was just a dink and dunk game managing by Daniel Jones with those Saquon carries late in the game that really opened it up and kept that drive alive for you guys. So, Washington, it has a lot of promise. It's definitely going to be a free agent hub, in my opinion, if they get a new owner and some right direction, because they have a lot of good players on this team that have a lot of potential. Shout out to Brian Robinson Jr., who got shot in the leg a few times and missed a bunch of games at the beginning of the season. In his limited time, he already has 600 yards rushing this season. So he's really there. They have both teams have a lot of rookies with a lot of talent this year that showing their upside. So good for them.
Yeah,
And
well,
I'm so glad that Chase Young didn't come back.
Yeah, that
definitely helped.
would have been a big factor in this game.
I've had a lot of predictions go wrong this year, especially with the Falcons. So it was nice to see the Commanders lose like I was hoping. Honestly, towards the end of the game, it was kind of just hard to watch in the sense that the Giants were doing the same thing to the Commanders over and over again, those inside runs. It just kept hitting them again and again and again, and Washington had no answer for it. Yeah, I like the Giants making it as the 7th seed. I think they're going to find a way to get, 2 of these final 3 games at least. But I'm still a little iffy on Daniel Jones. I know that they got the win, but didn't really look too great in the process. And now Washington's talking about possibly going back to Carson Wentz. So that's quite the turnaround for them. I mean, so quickly, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But congratulations to the Giants, though. Their first time getting 8 wins in a season since 2016. So it's been a while, Giants fans.
So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, enjoy the win and be, encouraged by it, as you set your sights for the playoffs. I would definitely try to couch it a little bit because I think the most glaring stat for me was just the fact that the yards per play for the Giants were 4.6, which means that this team has one way of winning, which is run it down your throat, control the clock, make enough defensive plays, and dink and dunk with Daniel Jones. And that may work for the regular season, but it definitely smells like a first-round bounce. So I am very, encouraged by the win in some respects. Like, I think that the Giants defense with 3 sacks and 2 forced fumbles show that they really can amp up the energy when the time is right, when it comes playoff time. But I think that this very much is a one-trick pony with this offense. And I think that in an ugly game, 3 for 20 combined on first down. I mean, on third down, like that's that's hard to watch. And I think that it's just, I don't know. I don't really know. I guess for me, the only thing I don't know about this team is what to quantify them as, because going down the stretch, there's very winnable games. I see them, being a 7th seed ticket into the playoffs, and it's just going to be a matter of how much can they stretch the capacity for that defense to really control a game.
You know what, though? One final point I want to make here. To all the Giants fans who might be listening, I was told earlier that there are some Giants fans listening to the podcast. I like your chances against Minnesota in the first round. If that's the matchup, if it's the Giants going to Minneapolis, I like that matchup. I think the Giants can beat the Vikings in the first round.
Well, let's hope we have a preview this weekend with that.
I agree completely on that one. I want to make one last comment. I think you have to utilize the tight end position a lot more. I personally think your 2 best athletes on the field outside of Saquon and Daniel Jones is Daniel Bellinger and Nick Vannett. They're 2 athletic tight ends where, in my opinion, Daniel Jones is the perfect quarterback for a play action heavy kind of pass offense just because of his mobility and the ability to then, if the pass isn't there, to then run and scramble. So in my opinion, they should be running a Steve Young kind of offense back in those 49ers days where it was heavy play action and feed the ball to the running back. So hopefully Bellinger gets more targets. He only had 4 this game. I would like to see him get 8 and continue their success.
I want to give a little bit of shout out and brownie points to Kayvon Thibodeau for coming out that night too.
Love it. And the real debate coming in. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll let you finish that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just real quick, I agree with Brian on rolling out Bellinger. Before he got hurt, a lot of those big chunk plays the Giants had were rollouts to the end with the Bellinger on those short kind of immediate routes. So I think they should do that. And then my last thing, I'm interested to see what happens with the Commanders in the next following weeks with the Phoenix Suns being bought today. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the market on who's going to buy the Commanders and how much, because the Suns got sold for $4 billion. And I don't even know what the value for the Commanders are going to be.
Bezos is going to buy the Commanders. Like, you don't have to worry about it. He's going to buy the Commanders.
I would think the market's going to get pretty hot for the Commanders now that one of the available teams in the major markets is off. So I think that's something we should be looking out for and see what that price tag is going to be. If the Suns got bought for $4 billion, I want to know what an NFL team is going to go for.
Yeah, especially like you said, with a rich for Washington franchise that is very historic, that has Super Bowls under their belt, that has NFL championships, and in a top five market in the United States, also on the brink of getting a new stadium. I'd say like $6 to $7 billion for who somebody who got a B minus in economics in high school. So we'll see with that. But and then the other debate, I'll leave this open ended to think about. What will the Giants do with Daniel Jones now? Do you keep him or you let him go? And like I said, that debate, we'll say that for another day. But as the weeks go by, we'll see if Daniel Jones can make his case for that. And now going to another NFC East team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles beat the Bears 25-20. And now, the one thing to get out of this, we know who the Bears are, we know who the Eagles are, but the one thing we have to question now is the alleged sprained shoulder of Jalen Hurts. I saw that was reported yesterday. At the moment, do we know any updates since then? And people are wondering if he's even going to be playing this upcoming week against the Cowboys. And if Gardner Minshew is going to be the guy, it looks like things are all pointing that Gardner Minshew is actually going to start. But should the Eagles, and especially the Eagle fan I'm speaking to on this, are the Eagles in trouble if Jalen Hurts' injury is as bad as it could be? And again, I'm not sure. I haven't seen any of the other reports update that, but how concerned are you, if concerned at all?
I'm not concerned about the injury as much as I'm concerned about the really rough decision making that comes in, like rest versus rust. Because from all accounts, Adam Schefter has talked about it. Sirianni gave a press conference today. They made it seem like it's a really light injury, like he could recover from it in like maybe like a week to maybe 3 weeks tops. Like there's Jalen Hurts got on the podium today and said that he might even play this Saturday against the Cowboys. So I mean, I'm not worried about the injury. It's just about like managing when to bring him back. Because having a month off, if they were to sit him for the rest of the season, then have a first round bye, then you don't play for a month, then you're in a divisional playoff game. That feels like a recipe for disaster. So that's really what I'm kind of worried about. Is kind of figuring out how to manage some reps in between now and hopefully, the divisional round of the playoffs, because we only need one more win to lock up the number 1 seed. So as far as facing the Cowboys this week, I would like for Jalen to be out there, but obviously if he's injured, then we got to go with Minshew. And I have faith that Minshew has enough with a Dallas defense right now that is just reeling right now. So I think I like our chances either way. I like them less now, but I think Jalen's going to be all right as far as the injury is concerned.
What really stinks is at least for a month we were talking about the big Christmas Eve game of the Eagles and the Cowboys. And reckon this injury is bad, but also we'll obviously talk about the Cowboys and Jaguars next. But with the Cowboys losing this past week, that game, though still interesting, but now with them 2 games back, the luster has lessened a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles would have to lose out and the Cowboys would have to win out in order for the Cowboys to take the division. I don't think we're going to lose the Saints, no offense to them. So, even if we lost the Cowboys this week, I like our chances to get the 1 seed. But yeah, it takes a little bit of luster off the game for sure. But, anytime the Eagles are facing the Cowboys, it's my favorite game of the year. Like, no offense to the Giants or the Commanders, but when I think of like who our biggest rival is in the division, I always think of Dallas first because I hate the Cowboys the most. Yeah. But just a quick note about the Bears. I appreciated the fact that even though they had nothing to play for, they still showed up and showed out. Justin Fields is a baller. I'm going to be eating my words for a while, calling him a bust because obviously he is great. And I thought they might cover. They really did. And man, you got to get that Bears team a dome and a couple good receivers. They're going to be great, I think, going forward.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much else to add with the Eagles. We know they're really good, and Jalen Hurts is going to be all right. So, I mean, if anyone else has anything, say what you have to say.
Well, I wanted to just kind of address the elephant in the room too, in addition to what Desmond said, which is it's not just that I have faith that he'll come back from injury cleanly and in a timely manner, but I just wanted to kind of heap some praise on the love that they really play complementary football. They're dominant on their front 4. They have lockdown corners. They can run the ball on anybody. They can win through the air as well when they need to. This game was, no short of proof of it with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown combining for 14 for 307. I mean, they are lethal on all fronts, which is why they're the most complete team. So I just wanted to kind of, remind people and emphasize that when you put in a backup, you really should have full faith and confidence in Sirianni and this coaching staff, because they're playing with top level elite guys at every position.
Yeah, and I also think it's one of the best backups in the league. We just kind of got lucky that way.
It's all it takes sometimes. It's all it takes. So let's now transfer to the Cowboys and the Jaguars. Man, Brian, one of the funniest things I ever seen somebody text this year was, man, the Cowboys are a bad team and nobody believes me. Do any of you support that cause after this game, blowing a lead, letting Dak Prescott show why he maybe is just a regular season quarterback, if that? And we also see Trevor Lawrence week after week showing us that he is an NFL quarterback. And essentially, I believe if they win out, they have a solid chance of winning their division now. So what do we think about the Cowboys at this point at 10-4 with that embarrassing loss in overtime?
I want to go last.
You want to
Well,
go?
Brian,
Okay, I want to go first then.
Okay.
well, real quick. Matt, what was that quote you had from Brian about the Cowboys?
The Cowboys are a bad team, but nobody believes me.
That should be Brian's memoir when he fades away.
Go ahead. Into the fray I go.
Oh,
All
man.
right, so people have been killing Dak, and I don't
that was a
understand
nasty
how
52 yards for
how the
him.
Eagles fan on the panel is defending the Cowboys, but here we are. Look, here's some truth though. Dak has 10 interceptions since week 7. That's the most in the NFL during that time. It's also true that he had like a broken thumb on his throwing hand. So I mean, and also, if you watch any of these games, like CeeDee Lamb is their only receiver who can actually win against man coverage. So I mean, Dak has been forcing the ball a lot in tight windows, because let's just call it what it is. The Cowboys, for the most part, have a very toxic fan base who demand winning all the time. And so I feel like Dak is just the latest quarterback who feels the pressure to perform, even when he probably doesn't have a great team around him. The passing game for the Cowboys is just not that strong. I think he's trying too much. And also, the one thing I want to say about this particular game, I was saying this all year. If your team scores so many points, and I know Brian's going to feel differently, the defense, they can't give up that many points. I don't care what the situations are. No self-respecting defensive player is going to be like, yeah, our offense spotted us 34, but we lost the game, but it's their fault. You're never going to say that. I mean, in fact, it was earlier today that the safety curse actually said, and this is a quote, when the Cowboys offense scores 34 points, it should result in a win, a comfortable win. So I'm glad that the Cowboys defense is taking some accountability for this. You got torched for 40 points, in Jacksonville. Obviously, 6 of that's a pick 6, but either way, that's embarrassing. They got to shore that up. They were supposed to be a dominant defense. They're looking like a lot of fluff right now.
Yeah, I don't know. My dad has some weird, some future predicting thing in this game, because I was like, I was over at the house and I was sitting there and I was watching. I can't remember what the game was on at the time, and I was like, Cowboys, Jags, Cowboys are up. The game's over. And then my dad flips this game on 5 minutes later. It's closer. I'm like, it's still over. Go to the next game. 5 minutes, it's closer. And my dad is like, are you saying it's over? And the next thing you know, he's screaming on the top of his lungs that the Cowboys lost, being a Giants fan, seeing that pick 6. And he was like, I told you the game wasn't over. And I was like, that is a terrible loss. It was just overall a terrible loss. And like Desmond said, this defense, for some reason, from after the Giants game, where they were just so dominant when they played the Giants at MetLife, to now, this is a completely second shift defense. I don't see the same pressure. I don't see the same attack. I don't see the same coverage. And Trevor Lawrence just had himself a day. And I think everyone kind of wow, the Jags this team's coming. And like Matt said, they have a chance to, if they win the division, which is shocking at this point. None of us thought that was going to happen. But it was just a terrible loss, I think, for Dallas. And now there's question marks. And I think a lot of us were excited for this Cowboys-Eagles matchup this weekend. Obviously, them losing kind of loses its luster. But there's a lot of question marks for me with the Dallas team. Are they just a really good regular season team year in and year out, or is this year they finally prove it? I really don't know at this point, because there's times they look excellent, and now there's times where they look like this, and it's just surprising and shocking to me. So yeah, I think it's a terrible loss. I think there's a lot of question marks around this Cowboys team. I'm a Giants fan. I love seeing that happen. And yeah, Dak definitely needs to play better. I'm sorry. I know he had injuries and I know things like that, but you can't play as bad as he did in the second half of that game. You have to lock things down, especially when you had your feet on their throats late in that, not late in that game, but you're controlling the whole game, and then next thing you know, it all hell broke. So a lot of question marks for Dallas going forward.
The only thing I'll say too is that we kind of constantly remind ourselves too that I've been kind of grading this entire division, the NFC East, on kind of on a grading curve, because of the fact that a strength of schedule kind of comparison relatively to the rest of the league. But I also think that this may also be, we were talking about karma earlier with the Raiders Patriots, this may be a little payback from Doug Peterson. I don't know.
I mean, there's some juice to that. I mean, when you face the same teams year in and year out, those coaches, those players.
Sure.
I mean, yeah. One last point I want to make is also, I know that the Cowboys defense is facing some injuries. Van Der Esch constantly having neck issues. Their corners take a shot this year. I mean, their second corner now is like now an open competition in week 16. I mean, yeah, there's some dysfunction there.
Right.
Okay. So, my initial reactions were, I want Dak Prescott, out of here. I'm aggravated at the defense. I hate the play calling. And I really, at the end of the day, I come to the conclusion of, this is the best thing that could happen to us, because it grounds us. It makes us realize that we make mistakes. We have flaws. The defense, even though they played stellar this year, it was a pipe dream. Why? Because it's the first year Micah Parsons fully playing defensive end, never doing that before. This was his best game for pressures, second most pressures in a single game the entire year behind Nick Bosa. But still, even doing that, he was gassed, he was tired. Going from off-ball linebacker to playing defensive end takes a wear and tear on your body, and he's quoted that. Also, no one else, Dorrance Armstrong got hurt this game, a great rotational guy for us that has, I think, almost 8 sacks this season. DeMarcus Lawrence plays great in the run, but he's very streaky in pass rush. So he didn't have a good game. The injuries in the linebacker corps with Van Der Esch, Anthony Barr is coming off injury. We still don't, and now with Micah Parsons playing D-end, we don't have that guy in the second level. Our safeties are Pro Bowl caliber players, but Trayvon Diggs is a very streaky top 5 cornerback, and we have no cornerback 2 right now. It's basically a blank position. And if you throw there, anyone scores. Look at Zay Jones. Zay Jones was almost out of the league a few years ago, and he had the best game of his career. So it comes down to the fact that our biggest weakness has been depth, because we move up in drafts, we go for the big name guys. We don't do anything in free agency when this team needed depth. And thank God we have Deron Bland, who's a rookie, playing our nickel position, because Jordan Lewis got hurt at cornerback, who was playing lights out this year. But now with Anthony Brown gone, we have our outside cornerback too. No one can fill that position. It's very hard to find 2 good cornerbacks in the league, like the Eagles with Bradbury and Slay, to lock it down, and we're not doing that. And when it comes down to Dak, I know Desmond was like, "Oh, it's a defense, but here's the real tale of this game. I say it's 21-10 at half. Field goal by the Jacksonville, field goal by Dallas. Dallas is known for field goals. That's what we do. Interception by the Jaguars, thrown. Field goal by Dallas. Right now, that should be a touchdown. If you get a turnover, you need to get a touchdown. That's how the NFL is. You cannot settle for field goals. Then we have an interception, Jaguars touchdown, a Cowboy punt, a Jaguars touchdown, a Cowboys touchdown, Jaguars fumble, a Cowboys punt, and a Jaguars field goal. And then another punt and an interception touchdown to win the game. In those 5 offensive plays, after it was 27-14, okay, the Cowboys, after 27-17, the Cowboys had a +4 yards on offense. That's play calling right there. That's Dak Prescott forcing throws. I know he has no separation right now outside of CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup on occasion, but guess what? That doesn't mean you throw the football at crowds. Guess what? Wait a little bit. I know you have a fake ankle. Move around in the pocket a little bit. moving around in the pocket opens up receivers because then cornerbacks get a little off kilter. You have 2 Pro Bowl running backs. Throw to the boundaries and do a couple of bubbles. Like, it's not really like he is in this now, I think his 7th season. He can audible. He has balls. He could do it. He has a big man voice. Go to your Kellen Moore, who was your backup, and say, I want this play calling. Be a grown man. It's time now. You're in this league. You got paid this money. You could be like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and make comments to your OC. And then when it comes to the play calling, Mike McCarthy, what the fuck are you doing? Like, guy, be disciplined and go to your coach and say, hey, it's now going to be, we're going in 34-34. It's now 34-31. Trevor Lawrence just fumbled. You know what the defense knows that we're going to do? Run the fucking ball up the middle, because that's what everyone does, because it's conservative. How about you hit the tight end over the middle for 12 yards and move the sticks and get remove a timeout, and then you could start running the ball. I never understood that in football. Everyone knows you're going to stack the box and run up the middle with 8 men in there, and you're going to go 3 and out. Why not actually make a big jump play, pass yard, remove a timeout, so then when you actually then run the ball, the clock runs out. It's bad. It is poor game management by the head coach, bad play calling by the OC, and a lot of bad luck on the defense with injuries right now. And due to that, the Dallas Cowboys will be a 1 and out against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you for my TED Talk.
No.
And I
Don't
just,
be
I just
that
don't
bad.
see it. I don't see the Buccaneers
No.
winning a playoff game. I mean, I think you're getting so lucky drawing them first, but
Yeah.
They're not winning a college
They're the
bowl game.
default one. Well, Brian, we appreciate your passion in this. And my only question to you at this moment is, if does it take a Super Bowl win for Mike McCarthy to stay?
Yes, in my opinion, it does, because Dan Quinn is the heart and soul of this team, and I think if Mike McCarthy has a bad Super Bowl win, he might get the boot. Like, look at you.
I don't see it.
Look at Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones got rid of Jimmy Johnson and put in Barry Switzer. Like, Mike McCarthy cannot be a disciplined head coach. We have a shit ton of penalties. He can't actually discipline his players. He can't actually communicate with his offensive coordinator and be like, let's change up the play calls. They're not working the entire half. He can make second half adjustments. Like, he had Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb in their prime with a chubby Eddie Lacy and Aaron Jones, and he couldn't do anything after that Super Bowl. So in my opinion, like, if he couldn't do anything with that, we have a poor man's version of that in Dallas. What are we doing here?
Yeah, but he's not gonna fire McCarthy. He's exactly the Patsy he wants. He wants a guy he can push around, that he can let clap and do his thing. That's why he kept Jason Garrett around for as long as he did. If he wanted a real personality that would take him to the next level, he would have hired them 25 years ago.
I agree completely, and that's why last week I said the next time we'll win a Super Bowl is when Jerry Jones is 6 feet under, and that is the truth. And I'm sorry to say that. I don't wish it on anyone, but the man is a tyrant on this organization and the league in the way in which he manages an organization. It's a shame. I firmly believe after this man goes on to Up or Down or wherever the hell he goes after his life, they put in a rule that you cannot be the owner and the general manager. It's a separation of church and state. You can't do it.
Hey, it hasn't really proven it in a while. So
I was just going to say off that, like, Brian, does your opinion change if they fire McCarthy and then they convince Sean Payton to come to Dallas? Would you think they would win the Super Bowl with Payton as their head coach?
I think they would, because Sean Payton demands excellence at all times, and I think it would be very good to have a guy that had Drew Brees a long time with Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott, in my opinion, is still a raw talent. I really don't think he was ever fully developed because his quarterback coach was his backup his entire career. Like, from 4 of his now 7 years in the league, like, if he couldn't make it in the NFL, I really don't see him giving anything to Prescott if Prescott beat him out. In my opinion, he needs actual experience, leadership. Tony Romo was the greatest thing for him in that rookie season because he actually helped him out, and he was like that. He needed a mentor. Like, in my opinion, I would sign next season a veteran backup to help Dak out because you could see he's not progressing the way he is. I still think he's afraid of his ankle, in my opinion, because he's not moving out of the pocket like he used to. He's basically standing up the entire time with very limited mobility. And in my opinion, this is starting to look like a very rough situation. If he doesn't progress anymore, I don't see their ceiling ever raising because they're just going to age on the offensive line even more. Imagine when Zach Martin's gone. And imagine when Tony Pollard goes to a team that actually is going to pay him this offseason, and we have Ezekiel Elliott at almost, 30 years old.
The joy that it brings, man. The joy that it brings. Well, Cowboys always getting us talking one way or another. So let's keep the passion right here, right now. We had on a Sunday afternoon at MetLife Stadium. I watched this after the greatest World Cup final ever. The Jets played the Lions, and oh boy, the Jets started the season 6-3. They are 7-7, and really are now in a place where they might not make the playoffs. And Jared Goff, he just stuns the Jets late. I mean, it was a disaster from the start when they had a 47-yard punt return to start the game. In the first quarter, this happened, and just get some momentum back. And Zach Wilson, man, listen, I know I'm against Mike White being a long-term answer, but boy, they really wish he was there. Zach Wilson somehow had 317 yards, but you really only could count on those straight-up lobs that you would see in a Madden game, just trying to make up for lost time. He was a mess out there. No running game whatsoever. And the Lions, they started out 1-6, and they're 7-7, and have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs now. Zach Wilson is going to get the start on Thursday against Jacksonville, even though he clearly doesn't deserve it after just a terrible game, despite the defense making it close for the Jets. Lions still pulled it off, and they win on a late field goal to take it over. So very interesting topics, two very interesting teams. Let's just talk about the Jets right now. I don't know if this Jets team's making the playoffs with clearly Zach Wilson, especially if Zach Wilson is going to be starting, and Mike White still having issues with his ribs. Yeah, the Jets are on a real disaster, and I don't know if you would say people are on the hot seat out of this, but damn, Joe Douglas picked everything right except the quarterback, clearly, and I think that's a fair assessment after 15 weeks in this season.
Yeah,
I think
sorry, you can go, bro.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to pick a quarterback. We all see that, but I think I don't think they make the playoffs because I think it's too hard of a schedule. They're probably going to go 0-3 in the last 3 right now. And it's a shame though because in my opinion, if you don't make the playoffs, I hope you lose every game of the season because draft picks, they're going to be in the middle of the pack. This team I would love to see this team get a top 10 pick to get like a high end safety or another defensive guy. But Zach Wilson's not it. It's a shame that Mike White couldn't play this game because I think with Mike White, they probably would have had more composure at that quarterback position and would have won this game. That being said, Detroit Lions are running away right now with this 7th seed wild card position, in my opinion. They're not in it yet, but they are on such a climb right now. And I'm happy for Jared Goff. And this team is an island of misfit toys, this Detroit Lions team. A bunch of guys that got thrown away by their franchises and really making a name for themselves. So good for them.
That really explains who Jared Goff is. That with that theory, and one thing I also have to say here: the Jets defense, though kept it close, they really choked in the last quarter, letting a 51-yard pass from Brock Wright go to the end zone, and it was a mess, a real mess. And I mean, the Jets look like an island of misfit toys right now with how they looked so good at one point, and now they just look like individuals out there.
I'm blaming Zach. I mean, I think we all message each other that it's like, this is just crazy because Zach, maybe he'll look a little bit better, but we all were like, at the same time, like, this team needs Mike White because it didn't look any better. And I think Mike White would have done better against this team. Zach Wilson, sat for those few games. and he's still missing short screen pass throws. I don't know what it is with him, but he's a number 2 overall pick with the arm strength. And there was a pass to Berrios near the sideline where he made the man miss if he caught it. But the problem was Wilson spiked it 5 yards in front of him. And I was just like, what is it with his quick strikes or throws? He's just not the court. He's not the guy. And it's disappointing. I think all of us saw the talent that he had. And then I don't know if it's the yips. I don't know what it is. But just watching him, like, he makes the occasional throw, but then the simple passes he doesn't make. And I think this team does miss much. I think they play a whole lot different. I think their confidence is better. I think they trust him more. And you can only rely on the defense so much. This is a top 5 defense in the league, as young as they are. And they got gassed, and the Lions took advantage and got that 51-yard touchdown to pretty much win the game. And now we're seeing the Jets in serious trouble. I think they have like a 13% chance to make the postseason right now. They're a couple weeks ago, they were really high. I think they have to win out to pretty much secure a spot. And with Wilson, I don't see that. It's definitely a disappointment. And I'm interested to see what these Jets do in these next few weeks, because the season started off so high, and now everyone's seeing that Wilson isn't the guy. And what does his team do now? Because this is now, over the last 10 years, 2 quarterbacks that they spent really, really high draft picks not panning out. And like Brian said, now they're in trouble because they're going to have a middle of the pack draft pick, and who knows what they're going to do, because, they're not going to be in position to get one of these top young guys to maybe try it again.
It's weird to me that I think certain organizations fall in love with these quarterbacks who obviously play no good competition when they're in college. Like, does anyone remember BYU being a great team over the last 5 years at all while he was exactly right? But you knew that Justin Herbert was playing great at Oregon. You knew that, Patrick Mahomes was playing great at Texas Tech. Some of these great quarterbacks playing against, great competition when they're in college. Zach Wilson didn't look like a great quarterback coming out of college. You throw him into the New York Jets, and you were expecting what exactly? I mean, it was a bad pick. He can't read defenses out there. You watch him try to go through progressions. He can't do it. He locks onto one guy, maybe throws that guy if he can. He's terrible in the pocket. They tried mitigating that by rolling him out of the pocket a lot this game. That was when he was doing his best, but he's just not a good quarterback. He needs to go. I mean, it's either Mike White or get a different quarterback. Zach Wilson is a bust in this league. I feel pretty confident saying that. Yeah, but I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the Lions really quickly here, because one hell of a turnaround. We talked about how they've been 6-1 in their last 7 games.
Yes.
Prior to that, their first 7 games, they were -5 in turnover differential. Now they're +9. They were giving up 32 points per game. Now they're giving up 19 points per game. And Jared Goff's QBR went up from 55 to 71. So, I mean, one hell of a turnaround. And I think they will be the 7th seed when this week is over. Ooh. I see the Commanders and who's the other team right next to them? The Commanders and the Seahawks both losing this week to the 49ers and the Chiefs. And I feel as though the Lions will beat the Panthers. Lions are going to the playoffs, guys.
So the only thing I want to push back with, Desmond, is that we've seen a lot of tremendous quarterbacks come out of small schools that don't play necessarily the best competition. So I don't think it's simple enough to say that he didn't see a lot of good competition. I think it's more probably about his low point release, being a smaller quarterback, maybe reading the defense is definitely a valid point. I think, like you said, I think this was actually more telling about how tremendous Detroit was. I thought they kept a clean game and a clean pocket for Jared Goff. He looked very comfortable against a tremendous defense for the Jets. They didn't give up a single sack, and they had no turnovers. And I thought that, and I do think that a lot of what's going on with the Jets right now and an inability to course correct, it has to do a lot with not being able to run the ball, having Breece Hall hurt. Being a one-dimensional offense makes them very predictable as soon as they take the field. And Robert Saleh he's not the guy to be running an offense. He's a defensive-minded guy. This is kind of what happens when you see offenses stall like this. And the only thing I will say finally about Zach Wilson is I would like to keep him around in the locker room, because that's more chance that we get to see Zach Wilson's mom on TV, and she's hot as fuck. So,
one last thing for me, because it just clicked into my mind. You know what Zach Wilson's comparison is in terms of talent? He's the Darko Milicic of the NFL.
Oh, wow.
Because if you look at that story, right, the Darko Milicic
from Harry Potter,
all it took was one workout for the guy to be so enamored to take him over all the future Hall of Fame talent that was on that list. And I think all of us fell for that Zach Wilson trap when we saw him in his pro day slinging the ball deep, and we were just like, yeah, this guy's going to be great. And
I think that
Had one viral video. That's it.
I think that has to bring up the conversation. We look in the history of the NFL and we see these cerebral quarterbacks who have a real good intelligence in college of understanding the game of football, and then with the opposite of the guys that are just off straight athleticism and ability and talent. Like there's a reason why guys like Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tony Romo, Carson Palmer, Kirk Cousins, these guys that are, average athletes, they could look like your supermarket clerk, Kurt Warner, these kind of guys, they make it for over a decade. Like if I think of football, if I didn't know who Eli and Peyton Manning were, I would not think that they are, Hall of Fame quarterbacks. They look like they're going to sell me a car. But then you have guys that have this raw arm talent and pure athleticism at the quarterback position, and this cannon of an arm, and could scramble, and just has all these abilities. But where is it up here? And where is the connect? Because I could do all of this, but if there's no connect here, this is where the issue is. So I always talk about that Wonderlic test. I want to know what Zach Wilson's Wonderlic test was. I'm very interested in that, because if this man was a high intelligence kind of guy and this athletic ability, yeah, he definitely has the yips. But if not, then maybe he just doesn't have it all up there together to really put together his athleticism to be able to transfer it to the next level, where you can't just rely on athleticism and good luck and lucky plays.
No, you can't.
The Jets are not an organization with really sound infrastructure. I think they finally started getting things right the past 2 years of the draft, and I think that relying so much on the quarterback is not, when you get it wrong, is the wrong way to look at it. I think maybe having the inverse approach and then letting the quarterback kind of just be the final piece, the icing on the cake, which means staying out of your way and, like you said, reading defenses appropriately. But it's hard to do that when you have a defensive-minded coach as well running the show.
And don't forget his poor clock management in this game too, especially in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I need
absolutely.
I need to see Zach's mom though at least one more time before the season's over.
I just looked it up. Zach Wilson's Wonderlic test was never released due to COVID-19 restrictions.
I just saw that.
But he took it. But he took it though. So taking an exam and could somehow, by putting it on the computer, spread virus. That's an interesting thing right there. That's called he got a negative score.
Well, let's go backwards and talk about Thursday night's 49ers versus Seahawks game, with Brock Purdy playing nice and smooth and keeping his 49ers winning streak alive. He is undefeated so far as a starter. And we saw the Seahawks, keeping it close as it could be, but falling short again. And do we feel that the Seahawks are going to fall short? They are at 7-7 right now. They have some very, very important games coming up. But especially with what's crowded with the Washington team, the Detroit Lions and them, and the Giants all fighting for those final wildcard spots, do we feel that the Seahawks might be in trouble because they have not been playing good football as of late? They were able to compete against the 49ers, but it wasn't good enough at home.
Seahawks' chances of making the playoffs are pretty bleak at this point, especially with having to go and face Kansas City this week. I mean, I think you just chalked that one up as an L. So, I mean, you have to win your final 2 games and then hope that the Giants lose a couple, or hope that the Lions trip up, hope that the Commanders trip up. I mean, I'm going to keep this one quick. I think the Seahawks' chances of winning are very, very slim at this point. Too many mistakes down the road, and their defense completely let them down.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Desmond too. Just going with that, because I think their defense was playing well early on this year, and they were keeping them in games, and Geno was doing great. But now we've seen the complete reversal, and I know they've got banged up on defense and stuff like that too. But I don't have confidence that this team could win out or get whatever in position right now. this would be a huge win if they can beat Kansas City. I don't see them beating Kansas City just the way their defense is playing as of late. So I really think unless they win this weekend, I think their season's pretty much done.
What about Gino, comeback player of the year, Desmond?
We all love Gino.
Hey, you know what? Your offense, I mean, you can only do so much with one unit. Ask the Cowboys about that.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's a full team effort. And the 49ers, I mean, they have maybe the best defensive line that I've seen in a decade. I mean, it reminds me of that like Giants, like NASCAR package that they had a while back. But I mean, it's terrifying. I mean, that's like the one unit on any team that scares me the most going forward in the playoffs. I mean, that 49ers defensive line is insane.
Yeah, it's sticking with the 49ers as well. Brock Purdy, he's really showing record in 2.5 games. This guy can really, really keep you comfortable if you're a 49ers fan.
Oh, absolutely. He's the starting quarterback next season. If he wins out right now, there's no doubt in my mind he's the starting quarterback of by next season. You trade Trey Lance to the New York Jets, get a little pick because they're desperate. Jimmy G is going to go back to the Patriots, and then you got yourself Brock Purdy, a perfect game manager. And you know what? Knowing Kyle Shanahan will probably draft another quarterback in like the second or third round because he doesn't need anyone on defense or offense. All their picks are house money supplements now. It's like taking an emergency when you know it's flu season. That's what those draft picks are to them now because this team's perfect. This team is perfect. You're laughing, but it's the truth. Everyone's under contract. They paid everyone. I don't even know. Whoever their accountant is, God bless, man. They should work for the IRS because like this is something crazy here. But yeah, this team is my Super Bowl favorite right now. I'm not gonna lie. I think no one can beat this defense, and I think this offense is humming. Barring any injury to CMC, I think this team is going to the Super Bowl and winning it all.
One point of note, though, for this 49ers offense, did see a few points of vulnerability in that Thursday night game, though. It felt as though they had quite a few times where they were struggling on offense. Seattle's meager defense was holding them in check quite a few times. So I don't know that they're as unstoppable on offense as they feel on defense. So I think there's a little bit of vulnerability with this 49ers team, especially with Deebo Samuel being out right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not as explosive without Deebo back healthy, but I think a lot of this is chalked up to a little bit of stagnation with a short week. You got a bitter rival on the road, and I think that is kind of demonstrably proven out with the high penalties, like 15 for 140 yards combined with both teams is definitely kind of a recipe for an ugly kind of game. But I think that, the offense can only improve from here. I think that Purdy has a lot of learning to do. And as long as he stays out of his own way, I think that they're destined to meet Philly in the NFC Championship.
Yeah, they're just, they can plug anyone at quarterback right now and they can win. They're just so deep. They have so much talent. Hell, even Zach Wilson could probably win on this team. I mean, they're using Mr. Relevant winning games. All right. It is what it is, but that's what great teams do, right? Someone goes down, next man up. They have a system in place to make sure they keep on humming. And that's what the 49ers are doing. I think they're a scary team with the offensive firepower, but their defense is incredible. I think they're so good. What are you going to say, Alex?
Oh, just last thing. I'm feeling better week by week about my MVP pick with Nick Bosa, 15.5 sacks.
Yeah. It's just the team just top to bottom so good. And I like the story of Purdy. I mean, it's all great to see. I think someone did a list of like the quarterbacks that are in the hunt for the playoffs in the NFC, and it's kind of, I mean, for Giants fans, it's Daniel Jones is the high pick, but like everyone else was like second round or later or undrafted or whatever the case might be. It's like wild to see that. But like I said, 49ers are deep. They have a great coach. They have a great system. They're going to keep on rolling. Like I said, they can have anyone a quarterback, but it's awesome to see Mr. Irrelevant, do the things that he's doing right now with this team. And once they get Deebo back, they're going to hit a whole other level. And that's even scarier to think because this 49ers team is already so good.
I don't even think that they're game managing, though. I think he's making crucial throws at crucial times. Like his pocket awareness and his completion percentages off the charts in college and now in the NFL as well. Like he, in my opinion, he has a more complete mind than half of maybe like the last like 3 quarterback drafts, in my opinion, just on development, because at Iowa State, they really have cerebral quarterback play. And this kid just shows it. He just understands the game. And with a Kyle Shanahan, a guru like that, that's the kind of player he needs.
And I think and another thing before we move on, Greg Kittle, when he's healthy, he's really something special out there. And I know he's literally been on and off in his career, but when he's on, he's really on. And watch out for him, especially deep in the playoffs. The Titans and the Chargers. How about the Chargers trying to change our minds? They win again. They are making a real push to stay in the playoff circle. I think at least the head coach gets to keep his job. Justin Herbert seems like he is A-okay. But for somebody who didn't score a touchdown, he was able to lead his team to a comeback. And the Titans, man, they're just dead men walking. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And, when Derrick Henry is your leading receiver in rushing and receiving, man, if they only didn't trade A.J. Brown, what could have been? But the Chargers really making a push. Watch out for that team, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They have all the weapons on offense. We know that's not really the problem. It's more like play calling, and the defense is not living up to expectations. But the defense showed up today, and they won a close game. Kudos to Justin Herbert just being an absolute dog on this team, and he had a bad day with 2 interceptions, and he still willed the team in that last drive. So good job not losing confidence. When it comes to the Titans, I think they have to start Malik Willis going forward. He might not be the best passer, but he just gives another dimensional option for them with being able for mobility and running outside the pocket, because Ryan Tannehill is accurate, but he's just not cutting it, in my opinion, with mobility in the pocket and just awareness. And I don't see this team going anywhere right now. So I know you're in a playoff hunt, but based on schedule right now, it's not looking good for them. Just playing the Cowboys and Jaguars the last 2 games, which in my opinion will be 2 losses as well. And the Texans always play well, but they just lose close games, as we've seen. So I think you need to put the rookie in and just change it up a little bit. Maybe it'll add a little spark.
I think the Chargers aren't going to lose another game this season. Look at the schedule. Colts, Rams, Broncos. Are any of those losses? I don't think so. I think Chargers are going to pole vault up to the 5 seed before this is all said and done, and possibly either going to Tennessee or probably Jacksonville for that first round matchup. And Justin Herbert looks legit. I mean, you put a real team around this guy, and he's going to be a top 3 quarterback for the next decade. Like I can't get over how impressed I am with him. Just everything, mechanics, every kind of throw that he can make, his intelligence on the field, just everything. Justin Herbert is completely legit. I just think, when they finally put a good coach behind him, give him better weapons who will actually stay on the field. This was the first time they actually had like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the field together, I think since week 2. So, I mean, obviously the proof was in like the production there. Yeah, I'm high on the Chargers, and I think they could be a dangerous kind of like wild card going into the playoffs.
I think you're correct. Like, I think if they in stride, they get healthy and they continue to get hot at these last 3 games, because they're all easily winnable games. I think that they could do just that. And I've never had to be sold on Herbert. The only reason I hated him was because he's in my division. But other than that, I'm so high on him, and I'm just happy to see him get his receivers back and hopefully start plugging up the holes in that offensive line, because I think that's the only reason this game was even as close as it was. I think Tennessee's kind of a lost cause right now, heading into the playoffs. And I think that wherever the Chargers do fall in terms of the hierarchy, they're going to give, any team they match up with a first round scare.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. It's kind of weird, at least for me, to see how much the Titans are spiraling down. But again, it's because they're so unmentionable. But I'm also incredibly high on Justin Herbert. I always have been. I wish he left Oregon the year early, so the Giants drafted him. He decided to stay, and then he became a Charger. But that's beside the point. I think he is just so good, has all the intangibles. He made a hell of a throw late in that game. I think all of us saw that. We're just enamored with what he can do on the field. And I think he can lead his team the right direction. But like, you guys said, they have to build around him. They have to build around him now. And I think we thought that was going to be the case this season. It's been a letdown, but they can't do like, let's sign a bunch of old guys and hope everything works, because lately in all sports, that hasn't been the case. So I think if they get some more young talent around Herbert so they can all grow with him, I think this team could be really, really solid going forward. And like Desmond said, if they keep on winning and they sneak in into the postseason, I think they're a really, really dangerous team to look out for if they're going into the postseason with momentum.
The Chiefs and the Texans, right? Now, again, I know it's a broken record about the Chiefs not covering, but it happens again. Only this time they almost straight up lost to this Texan team who put up a fight at the end. And if it wasn't for just a downright silly turnover in overtime, I won't say the Texans would win it, but anything else could happen. You don't want to see a game end in such a silly way like it was, but it was a very interesting game, and they pushed through and gave the Texans a scare. I'm sorry, gave the Chiefs a scare, but the Texans really showing some heart out there. Chiefs still winning. A win's a win, and they're just doing what they have to do to secure a first round bye and get that home field advantage. But shouts to them winning their 7th division title in a row.
Yeah, quick take here. I don't want to take too much time on this game. Lovie Smith's probably going to get fired at the end of the season, which I think is going to be a shame because while the Texans are 1-12-1, they've never quit like in any of these games. They have been in all of these games, no matter who they were playing every single week, playing the Cowboys, playing the Eagles, playing the Chiefs, play anybody, line them up. They're going to try to win that game. So they're drafted number 1 overall, but I hope that they keep their coach.
I agree with.
We're all in agreement on that one.
Yeah, so shame on the Texans if they fire him, but give the man a chance in Lovie Smith. He's been to the Super Bowl. So next up, before we just make fun of the NFC South, literally that's what the last segment is dedicated towards. But we had the Cardinals and Broncos. Broncos win. Broncos win. It wasn't Russell Wilson who led them to victory. But, all we could say is the Broncos beat the Colts. We know the Colts issues. I mean, without DeAndre Hopkins, it's almost like replacement players out there. But whatever. Say with the Broncos, good job, guys. Jerry Jeudy, I hope doesn't hurt any more refs. That's all we really have to say on that one. We had the Panthers and the Vikings. Sorry, Panthers and the Steelers. We'll start with the NFC South. Man, Carolina had so much momentum coming into this. And when they witnessed 3 of the teams in that division lose games, the one team you wanted to win in that division actually won to keep it close. But now it will continue this messy division that it is. And too bad for the Panthers not taking advantage of momentum. And Mitch Trubisky leading the Steelers to a victory. Man, Carolina, do we see them making up for lost ground? I don't think so, especially when your lead rusher only has 10 yards in the carry. And this is a Steelers team that is not as difficult as what is to come for them. But silly, absolutely silly that the Panthers lost this game.
Yeah, it's a shame because, they were on the upswing, but, kudos to the Steelers defense. They're always going to show up every game just based on lineage of that franchise, and having TJ Watt back really helps. So, once you stuff that run, it becomes very one-dimensional for them. And outside of DJ Moore, you really don't have that many threats. If you count Laviska Shenault maybe in the passing game for the Carolina. So, Sam Darnold did as best as he can. He hasn't thrown an interception this season though, so good for him. 3-0, showing some promise. And Mitch Trubisky, I don't want to see him on my screen. I don't want to see him in the reports. Where I thank God Pickett's back because you never know. The Steelers might have the ability to pull off some magic right now and win the next 3 straight and go above 500 to save Mike Tomlin's streak.
That'd be something else.
Wouldn't surprise me. I think I said last week that whatever you think's going to happen in the NFC South, just pick the opposite. No one wants to win this division. I think that's going to continue. You can't predict what's going to happen. Really can't. But the Panthers could find a way to win this division still, which is scary. Being that they're what 5-8 right now, 5-9.
Yeah, 5-9.
Ridiculous.
3 5-9 teams, and 1 6-8 team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So why don't we go to the 2 teams that battled it out that led to them having identical records after the fact? with the Falcons and the Saints. Falcons start the rookie quarterback. It wasn't exactly Brock Purdy or Mike White's debut. Andy Dalton is the one to lead the Saints back to victory. Atlanta made a push at the end, but it wasn't good enough for Desmond Riddler. But yeah, the Falcons and the Saints now can make a push as well. So what do you get out of this game? I thought it was silly.
I thought it was throwing Desmond Ritter to the fire. He got sacked 4 times, didn't even crack 100 yards passing. It was a tough outing. I thought Kamara had a great game on the ground, kind of controlling the offense, almost cracked 100 yards. So, yeah, I mean, again, what Desmond said is wide open. No one wants to win it. So let's just see what happens.
I think for Atlanta, they found their running back of the future in Tyler Algier, and I expect them to shop, if he's not a free agent, Cordero Patterson to a contender, because they do not need him on this team anymore, because a gadget touchdown on a kick return doesn't really help this team. They're awful. And I really hope they build around that running back, and hopefully Riddler progresses for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't have much really to say about this. This was kind of an ugly game. And yeah, just Desmond looked a little lost, but again, hopefully he learns. That's why they're putting him in now, to see what he has. And yeah, I think the Falcons just kind of gave up on the season, and we'll see what the Saints do. But yeah, I really have much. This game was kind of a pass for me.
Yeah, this game was super ugly. I mean, Todd McShay is already projecting that the Falcons are going to take another quarterback in the first round. And I hope that the Saints keep losing, because we have their number 1 pick. So let's tank, Saints.
So let's transfer it over to at least the most interesting team in this division for various reasons. We have the Bengals and the Buccaneers. The Bengals going into the second half were up 17-3. Things were feeling good. Maybe they'll get this home upset. Nope. Joe Burrow stays Joe Burrow. He's a cool cat. And with 4 touchdowns in the second half alone, he leads the Bengals to a 34-23 victory. And, we've heard now reports, whether true or not, that Tom Brady is considering retirement after this season. What do you think? If you're Tom Brady, do you hang it up? You lose your wife, you lose your family, you lose a little luster in your legacy career, and then you hang it up? That would be a tough way to go out. I feel like at least if he's mobile enough, and, this guy still at least, has a solid amount of passing yards. Yeah, he has some touchdowns in there. I think he's at least enough and earned the right if he wanted to give it at least one more shot. And whether that's in a Bucs uniform, a Dolphins uniform, a Raiders, 49ers. I think if you're Tom Brady, obviously focus on the rest of this season, but especially with these rumors coming out, if I were him, I would say, fuck it, might as well play one more year. But again, I'm not him, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think one more year is in the table for him. If I'm him, I don't know why I'm not calling the New York Jets and saying, let's sign it up and go for a go. Imagine Tom Brady in a big media spot with the New York Jets, if they were able to get some offensive linemen in there to help him out with those weapons and that defense. In my opinion, that would be the number 1 destination outside the 49ers for him. Just if they were able to get a couple more O-linemen. But what I really comes down to this game is just like stupidity on Todd Bowles. Like, why the hell is Giovanni Bernard getting 1 carry when he hasn't had it the entire season, and he fumbles on the 1 carry? Like, dumb. Also, I know you have Leonard Fournette, but Leonard Fournette is a scrub now. Rashad White, when he was out, was playing stellar. The offense through Rashad White was doing so much better. They were getting wins. And now Fournette is demanding that offense to go through him because of the contract and everything, which I get, he's healthy, but I think for them to be successful and win this division, they need to, be a little bit more balanced and run the ball through Rashad White. I think that is their best option right now.
Do you want to go, Desmond?
So 2 things here. I think the only reason that Brady's still staying in the league, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think he's just trying to think about his business as far as TB12 is concerned. I think that's a really big sticking point for him, because he has nothing left to prove. Let's be honest. He's won 7 Super Bowls. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He has nothing to prove. I think that this is all about him trying to find a way to continue to market his brand. Like, look at this 45-year-old quarterback dominating in this league. So if he is able to find a team next year who will take him, that's a good position. He might stay for another year, but if he doesn't, he already has a 10-year, $375 million deal lined up with Fox the moment he retires.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just be honest about it. Like, he has no reason to stay other than trying to also corner the market in the fitness world with TB12. So your guess is as good as mine as far as whether he retires after this year or not, but I think it depends on who offers him a job after this season's over.
Well, he has 88,000 passing yards. He might be saying to himself, I average 4,000 passing yards a season. 3 more seasons gets me to 100K, and I'll be the GOAT in any sport, even more. So, like, knowing him, he might just be like that and like, I want a round number. I'll hit 1,000 and retire at the next play. So we'll see.
I think the only way, I mean, if I'm looking at it from a financial perspective, from a business perspective, I would rule out California immediately because it's tax hell and it's a shithole. I would probably stay in Florida. I mean, as best guess, whether that means Miami or Tampa, and then the same thing goes with New York, kind of similar to California. So I'm not really sure, mobility wise, where he would prefer to go to run a business and continue that secondary of his second half of his career, beyond just the football aspect. But I kind of wanted to switch the conversation a little closer to Cincinnati because I've been kind of riding the second half of the bandwagon with this team. I still think they're the best team in the AFC, even better than Kansas City or Buffalo. And anybody else we want to throw in there. But I just thought that the way they came back in this game, facing adversity on the road, even if it is Tampa, forcing them into 4 turnovers, keeping them on third down, 4 of 12 on third down. I just thought that Burrow played an exceptional game. He led the comeback, and I thought that I'm trying to remember the coach's name. Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor had a really phenomenal game plan coming out of that second half and making adjustments, which is really what championship teams do. So,
just to go back to Brady for a second, though, he also handed the Bengals the win. And I like the Bengals. I love them. I think they're really, really good. Alex, I agree with your points. But he also had like 4 turnovers and just looked real bad, which is why I don't really have faith in the Bucs even in the playoffs. I really think, just real quick with Brady, I think the reason why he came back in the first place was he wasn't able to control the narrative of his retirement. I think the way he wanted it, kind of got leaked a little. Then he kind of said it, and then he kind of realized, like, I do have something left in the tank, and I kind of want to go out and play. And I can see him now. I think it's really a 50-50 shot, but I can see him saying, like, all right, I can control my narrative. Like, I can walk out on my own terms. Whereas before, it kind of felt like he was just like forced to be like, yeah, I'm actually retiring. Because everyone's like, oh, he's going to do it. And I think he was just trying to find a way that he can control his own narrative on how he wants to end his career. He doesn't have to worry about his TB12 brand. Everyone knows he's the GOAT. I know, Desmond, you had your points. I don't think he's worried about that. He's 40-something years old playing in the NFL. Pretty good for that brand marketing right there. And he also, like you said, you have that super massive Fox deal. So he's set whenever he calls it a career. I think he just wanted to control his narrative. And I think that's where everyone doesn't know is what is his narrative next? Oh, do I go back home to California and try to get a title with 49ers want me? Do I stay in Tampa and try to prove at my age I can get a team revitalized and go back? Or he's just like, yeah, you know what? I tried. It didn't go well. But you know what? I still had a great season. I want to end on here before I really fall off the cliff. So I think we really have no idea what happens in the mind of Tom Brady, which is why we're all guessing on what he's really going to do next.
He really is the Undertaker.
Absolutely. Here's my final comments. What's the over/under you think on Jerry Jones making a phone call in free agency to Tom Brady?
I mean, do you think he'd answer?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think Jerry makes a call. I think Jerry Jones is that much of an idiot to just feel it out. He did it. He did it when he became a free agent the first time.
So you're saying he already said no once?
I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't mind a 46-year-old quarterback right now.
Man, he wants to go out. Those cinematic matches for him. He has to win it for real. But we'll see where it goes there. Ravens played the Browns. Ravens only scored 3 points. J.K. Dobbins had a hell of a game, and that's really it. But for a defense that we criticize a lot, they prevented the Browns from they only allowed 13 points against the Browns offense, with them still trying to figure out what Deshaun Watson is with this running back committee. But damn, they really miss Lamar Jackson. They are 9-5, weirdly, still have a chance to make the playoffs, but at least, we'll see what happens, especially if J.K. Dobbins is resuming what he was at the beginning of the season, because he's been very productive. And if Lamar plays like first half Lamar, then maybe we're talking somewhere. And if only this defense can continue to prevent other offenses from scoring and not having a game where they blow it at the end, then maybe the Ravens can be a sleeper team. But I could also see everything I say go to shit as well, and they lose in a blaze of glory as well.
I think Lamar is just seeing the dollar signs go up, the money go up with every game he's missing.
Yeah, right.
Because you thought for a little like Huntley when he was playing when he was hurt before, like he was a service quarterback. Now it's completely different, and it's showing more that how much value Lamar has on this team. And it's not just because he can run the ball, he can pass the ball, he can do a little bit of everything. And I think with Huntley, you think that, but he's not as great as Lamar is. So, I think the Ravens just are trying to hang on for dear life until Lamar comes back. I think they kind of are playing the weight game just to make sure Lamar is 1,000% because they're probably going to have him run a lot. They don't want him to get hurt right away. But like I said, this contract that he's going to get, you can just see for these last few weeks that this team misses him, and they really need him because he's a dynamic quarterback, and they can't easily replace him. And I think the Ravens are going to have to throw this guy a lot of money, and he's just waiting for his moment to come back. And I think that's where our attention is how this team looks when he is back, because they have a solid, balanced team, and I think they're going to be a decent team come postseason time, but they really need him back right now to just lock it up real quick.
Couldn't agree with you more. In regards to the Browns, I really hope there's some type of condition in the contract to avoid Deshaun Watson's contract, because this is not looking like it's it. Like if I'm them, I might even be thinking about like picking a developmental quarterback in like the second or third round just to put behind him, because he looks old. Like, it's something about taking 1 year off in the NFL. We've seen it, Lev Bell, like we've seen players just take that 1 year off and they look, and not because of injury or holding out, just like they just don't look the same. And he does not look the same anymore. He looks rusty, and you'd think he probably practiced during his suspension by himself, and even the few games he's played this season, but he's just not. This does not look like his old self on Houston Texans. It looks like he doesn't have a drive. And I don't know what it's a shame, because this Browns team has such potential, and I don't know. This season's definitely over for them, but I just don't see the future with Deshaun Watson right now.
I don't think the season's over for them. I think the Browns can still make the playoffs. They have three winnable games coming up, and the AFC's like last two spots, I think, just with the level of competition amongst all of them, there is a way for the Browns to get into the playoffs. So, yeah, I don't think it's quite over for them, but this was an ugly game. Definitely the least interesting one of the Saturday games, and I'm glad to keep my take short on this one.
Yeah, I'm glad I get to go last, so I don't have to take it all. This game was virtually unwatchable. I had it on mute while the UConn Huskies were on. So, I just think that I just think that Baltimore, it's starting to kind of slip through their hands, and like you guys said earlier, I think that this is just proving more worthwhile Lamar's worth week after week, even if the team as a whole on the net positive don't have the same impact as a winning football team.
All right, now let's finish it off with Monday night's game. Maybe it was like the equivalent of watching the Harlem Globetrotters out there, more of an attraction. The Packers returned from a bye, and they win at home 24-12. Aaron Rodgers at one point looked really bad. I mean, that first pick where he just straight up missed Lazard I mean, like, straight up miss him, and it winds up in the defensive back hand for the Rams. But besides that, after that, he just snapped out of it. The running back by committee was running in there hard until A.J. Dillon gets hurt. But Aaron Jones picks up the slack. We know Packer fans are trying to figure out how they can slip in the playoffs with this, but we already talked about the NFC final wild card spot. It's too crowded and they can't make it. So that's what we can say. Baker Mayfield is back to normal, sucking.
Did we touch on the you guys want to talk about this game first?
I was about to say that. I was like, we should just dump this game and talk about Miami Buffalo.
I was going to say Miami
skipped
Buffalo,
that one.
Yeah,
this game was a snooze fest. Packers aren't making the playoffs, guys. If any Packers fans are out there, pack it in. Like it's done. You got the Dolphins, Vikings, Lions left up on your schedule. You're not running the table.
It's a done deal. Here's my one question: with his regression and his age, is Aaron Rodgers even like a tradable asset at this point?
Someone will take him.
With that contract, even with that contract, you think?
Do you think the Jets would say no to him? Because I don't.
I don't think they said no.
It's a lot of money, though. It's a lot of money.
We're talking about the Jets.
I think, especially if you have
the Jets have their shit together. I don't know.
Yeah, they
would definitely get him.
Like, it's only a few seasons. So if
true.
You get out. It's not like a.
He's got to take the Brett Favre path. Okay, you leave Green Bay, you go to the Jets,
and then you go to the Vikings.
All right, it makes sense. But then on my last comment on this game is Baker Mayfield didn't actually played well-ish. If you really think about it, he has no receivers. His best receiver got hurt. Cam Akers played well. Like, he did make plays. I think they need to keep him next season as a backup and let him develop. I think, this is his 7th head coach in like 4 years. Like, it's not fair. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I think this man might have more of a raw deal than what's it called? Than Sam Darnold. He had Freddie Kitchens and Greg Williams as his coach at one point, and Hugh Jackson.
With the injuries that Stafford is stacking up, you have to have a good backup on your team. So I'd see no reason to get rid of him.
Is anybody putting out a missing persons report for Josh Rosen yet? Or
nah, he's out of the league. He's out of the league.
Yeah, he's just straight up gone. We'll see him in the XFL.
Yeah,
poor kid.
I heard
XFL's hiring.
Yes, let's finish it off in the frozen rotunda. Up in a snowy Orchard Park, the Bills beat the Dolphins 32-29, a game that went back and forth. Lots of gridiron, hard-nosed football in this game. And even in the crazy wintry conditions, both team offenses showed up. But the Bills hold on. They clinch another playoff berth. And shouts to them after getting a last-second field goal to win it all. Now, I actually want to focus on the Dolphins first, and then we'll talk about the Bills here. The Dolphins, they've lost their 3rd straight. Reckon they're playing all great teams, and they have competed in them. I think now you're at a point where it's really concerning if you're Miami not being able to close on these teams that you really need to close if you want to make a deep run. What do we think about the Dolphins' performance in this and what they could do moving forward?
They really played well. I think it comes down to the defense. The defense is just giving up all these points. They are not their best unit. I think they're ranked in the lower 20s to mid 20s in defense for passing, which is shocking because Xavier Howard and Byron Jones are known to be very good coverage and man corners. So that's a shock to me. But I think that they have the ability to win out this season. But the issue for me is that the Chargers will also win out. And they've lost to the Chargers, so they have that they don't have that tiebreaker right there. So I think by that reason, I think they might miss the playoffs as the 8th seed. But this team has a ton of potential. Like, they have Raheem Mostert having 136 rushing yards. Like, this team is dynamic. There's a lot of players on it that could really, this season develop even more in the offseason. So they have potential, but it might be hard for them just because of that Chargers loss a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for the Dolphins after this game. I thought that everyone was like, can they play against the Bills? Can they go up into Buffalo and play in these conditions? They've been getting smacked around by the 49ers and the Chargers. They stood toe-to-toe with the Bills. I loved that game for them. I think they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't see them making it out of the. I don't see them making a deep run. You know, I think that my earlier thoughts about them being one of the top teams in the AFC, their defense isn't good enough to be one of the top teams in the AFC. So I think this will be probably second round exit for the Dolphins if they get into the playoffs. But you know, they got to go heavy on defensive draft picks next year because the defense is keeping them back. I think at this point, I think the Dolphins have a great offense moving forward. Tyreek Hill is the best wide receiver in football.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect in this game. I said we all hoped it was a fun game. Sure enough, it was. I didn't know how Tua was going to be with the conditions there, but he showed out. They played well, but yeah, like Desmond said, the defense is holding them back from being a really, really, really strong team going forward. But you know, they proved they can battle in, week out. They played one of the top teams in the AFC. I went down to the wire. You know, it was crazy game with the snow at the end, and you never know with a kick. I was like, oh, is he gonna, you know, make this or miss? But it was a fun, exciting game. It's just going forward, I think that the Dolphins just need to add a few more pieces, and they could be a really, really solid team.
I kind of agree with everything you guys said. I thought this was like a resilient kind of best case scenario loss for Miami to kind of show their character and their fortitude, particularly in 3 tough games back to back to back. I don't, you know, I'm kind of concerned they won't make the playoffs. It'll be kind of remain to be seen down the stretch here, but I like a lot about this team. I just have a couple questions about Tua and adding some, you know, pieces to that secondary to kind of shore things up. I thought, you know, Mostert had a great bounce back game. I thought it was kind of tailor made for a big ground game for Miami, so I was glad to see him take advantage of that. But Matt, I want you to definitely clip that little piece there where Desmond said Tyreek is the best receiver in football. I don't know about
off-season debates.
Yes,
I agree with
not
Desmond.
sure about that one.
Tyreek Hill is the best receiver in football.
Off-season debates. Here we come.
He's the best. He's the best track star in the NFL.
Hey, if you're getting the catch, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
If they can't cover you,
Justin Jefferson and Devontae are better.
He would prevent a lot of passing yards with Brian's pitch stat though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, think of the advanced stats here. This man's perfect for Kirk Cousins. Imagine him on the Vikings.
Oh, in the next life. But let's get into week 16, guys.
Yes.
Remember when it used to be the penultimate? What's the word? It's penultimate, right? The second to last. Anyways, week 16. It's not the second to last game. It's the third to last game, and it is huge. Christmas weekend for all those celebrating. It starts on Thursday night. We have the Jets and the Jaguars. Humongous game. Both teams trying to make a push. Both teams trying to get playoff position. This is very important. You have last year's number 1 and number 2 overall picks going at each other. I mean, people were laughing. Oh, they're just going to primetime game. It's going to be Thursday night late in the season. And yeah, a lot is on the line with this. The Meadowlands is going to be loud. The spread is actually even. Jets versus Jaguars. Who's winning? I think Trevor Lawrence is making some noise at the Big East Rutherford. Yeah, in the Big East Rutherford. And I say the Jaguars are taking this one on Thursday night. And Zach Wilson will lose out, and he will lose his career in New York.
I agree completely with you, but I don't think it's going to be about Trevor Lawrence. It's going to be about that Jaguars defensive line with the other Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker coming in on this banged up Jets offensive line all season. I think they smother Wilson and they win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm going to agree. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to pick this defense apart. How great this defense has been. I think Zach's going to just kill their morale early on. So I'm going to go with the Jags here. And like I said, like Brian just said, Trevor Walker is having a great year, and I love people talk about him first overall pick. He's really, really solid. And that defense is playing really, really well as of late. So yeah, I think Jacksonville is just going to wipe the floor with the Jets this week. I have no faith in Wilson.
I got the Jets. I
Yeah.
think that they played the Lions tough and they barely lost that game. I think the Lions are a much superior team to Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's going to struggle against a great New York Jets defense. And these Thursday night games, they're never high scoring ever.
Yeah.
If you're going to have a low scoring game against a great defense, I like the great defense in this scenario. 2017 Jets.
I have the equal opinion. I think the Jets are going to win a big bounce back game. I don't trust warm weather teams going into a cold weather environment, particularly in this situation on a short week. So I got the Jets winning handily too.
Just East Rutherford. It's not the frozen tundra.
Compared to Jacksonville, it
cold
is.
in December. It's still cold in December.
Oh yeah. So now we're talking about Christmas Eve, Saturday, December 24th. Most of the games are played this Saturday. Start with the Giants versus the Vikings. The Giants versus the Vikings. Minnesota opens at -3.5. The game is in Minnesota. Pick the Giants on this one. I think that they are going to be successful. I think they're going to secure a playoff spot. And I think all that momentum for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings will die out this Saturday.
I'll agree. And it's Giants bias here, obviously, with Matt and myself going with the Giants. But same things. Just last week, seeing how the Vikings started off slow, I think the Giants are come out and hopefully attack early. I think we need to see a more aggressive offense. I hope Dable and everyone has them fired up. This is a crucial game. They're winning, they're in. I hope they don't take this game lightly. And I think because of that and the way Dabo's coached his team up, I think he has them in prime position to, I wouldn't call it an upset, but beat the Vikings on the road. So that's why I'm going with the Giants.
I'm going to go with the Giants. What I hope that Brian Dable does, though, is watch the Dallas Vikings tape, because there's no doubt in my mind that Saquon Barkley is better than Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, and they should use him exactly like both of them. Screens, wheel routes. This defense is terrible against running backs in the pass game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to win this game, Saquon Barkley needs 250 all-purpose yards, 125 rushing, 125 receiving. But he can against this team because of how weak they are against running backs in the pass game, and that's where Daniel Jones needs to attack.
I think
DJ.
the Vikings get this one by a touchdown. I think 24-17. But what I think the most important thing about all of this is that I think through this loss, the Giants will figure out how to game plan against the Vikings more effectively. So when they get to that wild card game, they will beat the Vikings in the wild card game.
So they'll just do the Commanders route. They'll do the
going.
Commanders route. They just tied against the Commanders, figured out where to beat them, and then beat them. I like it.
I'm not even going to give an excuse. I'm just going to be the resident apologist for the Vikings and take. Again, it's 1 o'clock game, so Kirk Cousins can't let us down.
Minnesota. All right. We'll go with that. Bills are going to Chicago. It's going to be a -9-point favorite for Buffalo. I think the Bills are going to get it. Bills are going to win. I don't know if it, with the same record as the Chiefs, they really can't take this game off. So if they want to secure the home field advantage, which makes a huge difference, win this game, cover the points, and still respect to the Bears. I think they might even make a push for them to cover, but I think the Bills will ultimately win out.
Can I make a little prop bet here? Not a money, but like a friendly bet. I think that Justin Fields is going to go over 200 rushing yards in this game.
200 rushing yards as a quarterback.
But Bills will win handily.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the kickoff time is going to be 14 degrees in Chicago. It's always windy in Chicago. It is brutal to play in that city. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I think the Bears cover. Bills are probably going to win like a 17-14 type of a game. I think this is going to be I think it's going to be competitive.
I agree with you, Desmond.
Hey, I just want to see how many rushing yards on FanDuel is that those odds? Who wants to guess?
Plus 20,000
rushing yards.
200 plus. I mean, do they even offer that? I mean, they have
What's the max they offer right now, and what's the odds at that?
the odds for rushing yards. It's taking a little too long for me to find out, but I'll keep it going there. But we'll just say it's plus 100,000, as Brian said. So again, go to your underground bookies for that one instead. So
We
next
support
up.
local business.
The Saints. Oh man, that reminds me. I had somebody in this pod say the mafia on camera that the mafia runs all the sports books. His words, not mine.
Maybe the
But,
Bills.
the Saints and the Browns are playing each other. Saints are going to Cleveland. Cleveland opens a -2.5. Give this to the Saints and Andy Dalton, and people will start having a conversation. Can the Saints be the one to win this division?
Yeah, I got the Browns here. Honestly, I'm really factoring in weather with a lot of these picks this week. I think you got a dome team from the South going up to Cleveland to play in the North, 23-degree start time against the best running back in the NFL. Nick Chubb is just going to absolutely blast this Saints defense. I got the Browns by a touchdown here.
So is this you going against your natural instinct with an NFC South team?
You know what? Sometimes talent just wins out. I just can't see the Saints actually stopping Nick Chubb this game.
Just asking.
Anybody else got picks in this game?
I'll take.
I'll take the Saints just so then the Eagles don't get a better draft pick.
I'm going with the Browns, even though I would love to not have the Eagles get any good picks whatsoever.
I
Browns.
think Cleveland's looking at a legitimate chance for maybe the 7th seed. So I think I'm going with that line of thinking.
Oh,
All right.
man. So we have the Texans and the Titans playing each other. Houston's going to Tennessee. Tennessee opens at -5. I think this is the one where the Texans actually win.
Yeah.
And they might even cover at this one. But give it to Houston on this one. And then from there, they'll give Malik Willis his shot in the final 2 weeks of the year.
I got the Titans. I think they're going to have a decent bounce back game. These division games all about familiarity. And I think, Titans will be able to overcome the fact that their talent has been lacking, to say the least, the last few weeks.
So I'm going to go with the Houston Texans here. I really think that if Houston has the ability to stop the run, which even if they can't, they kept Dallas close. So why can't they do this against a one-dimensional team in regards to the Titans here? I think Houston, with this dual quarterback system, might have enough for a weak Tennessee defense to win out by a field goal or a touchdown score.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Brian. I think just how the Texans have played these last few weeks, they've been in almost every single game. They play tough. This Titans team is spiraling, and I think it continues to spiral, which is why I'll have the Texans here and to cover the spread at 5.5 as well.
I got Houston and I think it's going to come down to actually Houston's defense to seal this game. I think Tannehill's waiting for a big pick or some kind of blunder at home.
Seahawks and the Chiefs are going at it. Seattle's going to Kansas City. -9.5 is the spread for Kansas City. Kansas City will win, but they'll somehow not hit the spread once again.
Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Kansas City, that spread is right at my point of I don't like to bet on it. So I'm going to go Kansas City to win outright. I could see Seattle covering the spread, but I'm just safer bet going with Kansas City just to win outright in this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that one. That's all I was going to say.
The only way to really keep Kansas City out of a game is by keeping the ball away from them. Kenneth Walker's still banged up. I don't see how it happens for them. Kansas City's too locked in and getting that 1 seed. They're going to win this game easily.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. I think that Seattle's still playing for something, but I just think they're outmanned. I think Kansas City at home is the closest thing to a guarantee. Particularly when you kind of know what Seattle's going to do on offense, running the ball. I think that Spagnuolo is going to have an easy time stopping the run.
How about the Bengals going to New England at minus
Ooh.
3.5? Joe Burrow's going to keep winning. I think that'd be him and the Bengals' 8th straight victory. They're going to keep their winning ways, and they're going to break the hearts of Patriot fans who deserve it.
Yeah, I'm
I
going
think-
that, and I'm hammering the Bengals this week. Just everything. Win outright, do whatever, slap another bet on the spread, go whatever. I think they're just going to dominate this game.
I think the Cincinnati Bengals might win by like 17 to 20 points in this game. I think it's going to be an utter blowout at home in New England, just to put the icing on the cake of an embarrassing season by this mastermind that they call Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I don't know about 17 or 20, but I see double digits for sure. Bengals going to Foxborough and kind of smack them up. I mean, the Bengals have an underrated defense. Patriots have no offense. I think they're not going to get exposed because they've already been exposed, but I don't see the Patriots being able to keep up with the Bengals at all.
See, I'm going to take the contrarian position here. Not only do I think this should have been flexed to the night game, but I also think this might be the best game of the weekend. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but other than the Philly, Cowboys game, I think that this game has potential to be a lot closer. I think that New England's kind of looking at their season being on the line and watching kind of the finality of that, kind of slip through their hands. I think that Cincinnati, like they I don't know if they've really learned from having a slow start on the road in Tampa, and I think a continuation of that may occur. And I think that Cincinnati, I think they prevail, but I think it's the closest, tightest, most competitive game of the weekend.
Okay. Lions are going to Carolina. Lions are opening at minus 2.5. Crucial game for them. And the Panthers, if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive, crucial game for them as well. But I say the Lions are keep it going. Go from a cold MetLife Stadium down to a warmer Carolina Stadium. Some bank stadium? Who cares? But anyways, Detroit is going to win this one and keep their momentum going and become America's new favorite team, in the sense that these guys know how to fight. They know how to win. The coach is a big teddy bear. Jared Goff looks like Ryan Gosling, and he's winning. What a great story this can be.
I agree with you. I want to see Detroit continue out right now. I think they're going to absolutely smack Carolina and continue to prove that Dan Campbell deserves head coach of the year.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just looking at the implications of this game and the way the Lions have been playing, we all love a Cinderella story, if you will. The Lions are that. And I think they're just going to continue to ascend and shock everyone and make it to the playoffs. But this is the way they start, and I think they're just going to beat down the Panthers.
Panthers are going to win this one.
God.
Just whatever you think is going to happen in the NFC South, it's the opposite. The Lions, they're just going to find a way to stumble. It's not going to make any sense. We're going to walk in here next Tuesday. We're going to be like, we don't know how the Lions lost that game, but they did. Panthers win a close one, 23-20.
I had Carolina for this game. I just think that the Lions come back down to earth for 1 week, and it comes down to the last week of the NFL season for them to actually sneak into the playoffs. So I think that Panthers win a tight one as well.
Can we just have the Lions fans have something positive for once, guys?
I know.
They're going to the
I support
playoffs.
that,
The
Alex.
Lions
I
are going to the
support that.
playoffs, but they will lose
Hey,
this
young.
week.
I agree.
Detroit deserves something good every 5 years. So
Every decade.
Atlanta is going to the Ravens again. If they want to stay afloat, they will win this game. But will it actually happen? Minus 7.5 for Baltimore. Baltimore is going to get back to their winning ways, and they're going to defeat Atlanta, who still try to figure out what to do with their roster moving forward.
Can we at least agree that this game is unwatchable?
Yeah, this
I
is the worst
agree.
one of the week.
Thank you.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think a touchdown will be scored in this game. I think it will be a 9-5 Baltimore
Wow.
Ravens win. And I feel bad for Riddler here, because talk about, he was probably a backup. He's like, I got my clipboard the rest of the season. I'm taking mental reps. Mariota's taking the beating. He looks bruised up. I'm fine. He's probably sitting there and being like, I should have stayed in Cincinnati. What am I doing here?
I just feel bad for the ticket holders.
I think I feel bad for the editor that is going to have to put the game highlights to this together. Shortest reel of the week for all the games.
It's going to be the kickers and punters.
Yeah,
It's
it's
going
going
to
to
be the
be
kickers and punters.
field goal, safety, field goal, and we're all going to be like, all right, well, that's what we know from this game. It's going to be ugly, but I think the Ravens are going to win.
I got Falcons here, 13-10.
Of course, you do.
I mean, hey, the Ravens offense has been abysmal without Lamar Jackson in there. He missed practice again today. That's 7 straight practices that he's missed. He's not on track to play this weekend. So, I mean, if Huntley's your quarterback, I mean, just give it to the Falcons here. Whatever you think is going to happen is the opposite. Falcons.
There will be more.
Ravens.
There will be more. My bad.
Sorry.
There will be more punt yards in the first quarter than passing yards the entire game.
What's the
That's
problem?
the first time.
Yeah, Matt, let's find the prop.
punting yards.
Someone put that prop
Punting
together.
yards. Is there a punting yards?
Yeah,
That is
punting-
definitely a
punting
Punt
yards or
yard-
passing yards. Who do you
Punt
pick?
yards lateral across the field, not air yards, because air yards is like 80 yards a punt. That happens every game. But lateral punt yards just across the field in the first quarter will be more than the complete passing yards the entire game.
My final score is Ravens 5, Falcons 3.
I feel like this game should be a negative number score. Like, I wish you could give negative scores in the NFL like fantasy. Like, I want this to be a -5 to -3 game.
Stupid fantasy playoffs. Commanders and 49ers, right? Commanders are 7-point underdogs.
That's
Can
it.
they go to San Francisco and defeat Brock Purdy and company? The answer is no. Give it to San Francisco on this one.
I think this game will be a close game like Seattle just because I'm expecting a better defensive showing based on Washington's pedigree on the defense. But that being said, I just think there's too many options on 49ers offense, and I expect Brian Robinson and Christian McCaffrey to combine for 250-plus rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. That's your weekly special for DraftKings.
So 4 weeks ago, I said the Commanders would not win their next 4 games. They've only won 1 since then. I'm not backing off that pick. Commanders going to lose big here. 49ers win 31-13.
Yeah. I got the 49ers in this one. You guys know I'm all in on that. Also, anything to help the Giants make the postseason. So 49ers, please win this one. I would like to see what Washington does. Hopefully we see Chase Young make his return. I think this defense, if he is back, they can keep this game close. But I think I just got the 49ers outright, just how great they've been playing lately.
I have a low-scoring 49ers win. I think both defenses are going to light up the stat sheet. It's going to be a great game.
All righty. The game of the week. The game we have all been waiting for to talk about.
Raiders Steelers.
Of course.
50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception.
Yeah, 1970, maybe.
Oh, man. The Eagles and the Cowboys are going to be playing each other instead, actually. But 425, you got Olsen and Burkhart. Everybody's going to be watching. And you know what? The Eagles are actually 5-point underdogs going to Jerry Jones's world in Dallas. And in this, with the Cowboys versus Eagles, I actually will give it to the Eagles. They are going to win again. They're going to go 14-1. They're going to cover. Dak Prescott is going to have – this is his – what's the equivalent – what's the opposite of a breakout game? Like career – I don't want to say career-ending game. That's pretty harsh. But he will be on his way out with this.
A slump.
A controlled demolition. Yeah. A game that ends your –
Bum. You're looking for the word bum. Bum.
You know, for Brian's sake, this is going to end his career. No one will look at him the same after an abysmal performance here. And this will be the Eagles' big game. But if you believe in the one-loss curse, they should lose in the next 2 weeks after that. Because usually, except if you're the 85 Bears, if you are dominant and only have 1 loss, you usually screw up in the playoffs.
I'm going Minshew Mania here. if he starts, just because.
Oh, I see the memes right now.
I just love the memes that come out when Gardner Minshew starts. I don't know why. I should.
He lived in a truck or
Uh,
like a bus or something. I
yeah,
saw.
what I did. But yeah, similar to the 49ers, I think it's just Eagles team has so much talent that you can just plug in Gardner Minshew, who's a quality backup quarterback, to lead the victory. Which is why I have them beating the Cowboys. I just have no faith in the Cowboys, what I've seen these last 2 weeks from them. So I think it's just going to be a Minshew mania on the road in Jerry's world. I think the Eagles are going to win this one.
I want to say Philadelphia will win, but I don't know.
You
I'm
got to
feeling.
pick your team.
No, you know what I'm really going to say right now?
No.
I
Ready?
don't think I've ever heard Brian pick the Cowboys. I think every time I've been on the show, he picks them.
and they usually win. But you know what I'm feeling? I'm looking at the NFC East standings. You know what'd be the most NFC East thing ever? All 4 teams have a tie in one season. So I'm gonna go with a tie in this game right now. That's it. I'm gonna go with a tie in this game just to fuck with everything and make a really weird set line kind of history thing that you get in one of those books that you could read on the toilet for Christmas in the stocking stuffer. All right. The entire NFC East will have a tie this season. Dallas, Philadelphia, combined score 17-17 on overtime.
I don't think that's ever happened. So wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think 27-24 Eagles. I see this one going right down to the end. I really do. I think Gardner Minshew is going to come in and play really well, but I see Dallas playing really well too, and I think it's going to be one of those who has the ball last kind of a games.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, I really think this will be very, very fun to watch. Very, very fun to watch. It's going to be cool. So for those who are really interested in the 50 years and one day from the day that these two teams matched up in the AFC divisional round, 1972, the anniversary game of the Immaculate Reception. Too bad both these teams are 6-8. It could show nothing special for those players who are still around. But regardless, it is two classic franchises going at each other. Christmas Eve evening, NFL Network, Pittsburgh opens at -3. I'm going to give the Raiders this one and give another reason for Alex to be happy. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Thank you. Oh. I think Oakland's going to win. Tight game. It'll probably just come down to the last possession. Probably looking at, I don't know, 17-14, but yeah. I'll give it to you guys.
Yeah, I'm taking the Raiders. They just got too much offense.
Yeah. This is my throw up game of the week. As usual, this is I will gag while watching this and or skip it just because it'd be so bad. But just give Alex a good Christmas gift. I'm gonna go.
That's right.
This talent level is just better than the Steelers, and they better beat them.
Thanks for your clarity.
I'll laugh at you, but that'd be pretty much. I'm going with the Raiders here.
I mean, yeah, I've been saying it all for this whole time with these predictions. Cold weather's gonna be a factor. I mean, you got Josh Jacobs, number 1 running back in the league right now. I mean, just give it to him 30 times. I like the Raiders.
And now we transfer to Christmas Day. The Packers and the Dolphins are going at it in Miami. Miami's opening at -4. And I think they're going to get back on the winning train and they're going to defeat it. But I do think the Packers are going to give them a fight. It seems Aaron Rodgers is always playing on holiday games like this. I'm pretty sure he played on Christmas last year or the year before. And the Dolphins are going to win this against two more classic franchises.
Miami.
Well, I'm going to go with Green Bay since, Aaron Rodgers is like the Grinch since he doesn't talk to any of his family and estrange them. So I think this is his kind of holiday of ruining everyone's playoff hopes and sending the Miami Dolphins packing out of the playoffs. I think Green Bay wins on a field goal.
No, I got Miami. I got Miami getting back to their winning ways. I think that they're going to have a strong showing at home, and I expect them to win handily. Actually,
yeah, I got Miami too. I liked what I saw against the Bills. I think it was as positive as a loss as you can get. I think they'll just beat up on the Packers. Against that defense has been very, very underwhelming. So I got the Dolphins winning outright and covering this week.
Agree. Talent gap is wide with the Dolphins. I don't think that the Packers are going to be able to keep up offensively. I got Dolphins with this one.
Well, doesn't this game suck? Broncos and Rams. Broncos are going to the Rams, 4:30 Christmas afternoon. Give it to
Ugh.
Denver at -2.5. That's what I say.
I'm going to hard pass watching this one. It's NBA Tuesday, and I'm not doing that biased because of work, but the games leading up, I can completely skip over it. So I'm going to watch Lakers Mavericks and then wait for Bucks Celtics to start and not even tune my eyes on this one. But I will pick the Denver to win just because, I'm just going to go Denver here, get a positive win on Christmas or something. I think this game's going to be terrible, like I said, but I'm going to go with Denver.
Hey, Knicks are won 8 in a row now. Yeah.
There we go.
I got the Rams because Russell Wilson's playing. And so now that he's back, right back in the tank. Rams.
How many points are they scoring, guys? How many points is Russell starting? Are they going to go over the dreaded number?
9.
Or are they...
9. Yeah, no, 9.
2 points by the defense.
I think
Well,
this is the West Coast version of Atlanta versus the Ravens.
Wow. Yeah. Good one.
Thank you.
Well, isn't this a convenient time for one of these players? But Christmas evening, 8:20, the Buccaneers are going to the Cardinals for another quarterback who happens to be a legend, and we know his family issues at the moment. I'm sure this is a good time to play a football game. But they're actually going to Arizona for this. And I think the Bucs are actually going to win this one. You cannot lose to Colt McCoy on Christmas Day after the hell of a year you had. Give it to Tampa Bay. And if they do lose, then maybe those Jets aren't a bad option.
No, Matt, you're wrong. You can lose to the Cardinals. You know what?
Oh,
just for comedy, I'm picking it. Cardinals.
The Cardinals. But Tom Brady has to go 4-4 instead of 3-4 since his divorce.
I'm gonna go with the Cardinals. And I was right. Every time I've said JJ Wash has a flashback game, he has a flashback game. I was right a few weeks ago. I was right last week. I feel like JJ Watt will have another 3+ sack day against this Buccaneers offensive line. And every time he gets a sack, I'm pretty sure he gets like $250,000 now since he hit 9 sacks. So he just had a baby. Let's get that money going for the generational wealth right now to him. Cardinals win by a field goal.
I'm going to go with the Bucks, but the NFL didn't really do a great job competing against the NBA on Sunday because, like I said, the game prior, and then you got Grizzlies Warriors at 8 p.m. So another good matchup on the NBA side. I love Colt McCoy. Obviously, I always root for him. I don't know why I always like him, but it's Tom Brady's Christmas. I think he'll have a Christmas Day performance. So I'm going to have the Bucks and covering just with how the Cardinals have played these last few weeks.
If we need a second Christmas Day resurrection, like Brian's saying, I will have AJ Green going for 10 catches, $180, and 2 touchdowns. Turn back the clock
from Alex.
Hey, at least mine's realistic. It's happened twice this season.
Vegas is shaking right now with these Alex player props. Like if someone finds it, they hear this, they're like, "Oh God, what happened when they hit?" Oh no.
I'm propping on all.
Still can't get over the 200+ rushing yards for the quarterback.
That's more likely.
So I really think that would offend a lot of hardcore NFL hardos for that. But then we finish it off Monday night, Boxing Day, December 26th. The Chargers and the Colts are going at it. Chargers opening at -4. Big game for the Chargers in this. I think they're going to keep it going. I think this would be a game where the Disney movie ends. Jeff Saturday's like, I can't be a head coach here. And they start their process to hand it over to someone else. And people will fall more in love with Justin Herbert, and he will not be her bum.
You know what? I know we're all going to pick the Chargers, so let's just actually do something a little more fun with this last pick. How about we try to pick how much the Chargers will win by? See who gets closest when we come back next Tuesday. Because I got the Chargers by 18 points.
18 points. Yeah, to continue that, the Chargers are going to win by 11 points. No, 12 points.
All right.
You know what? I'm gonna make a parlay out of this. Let's see. I'm gonna do a 5 legs. I'm gonna say Chargers win by 14. I say Justin Herbert has a rushing touchdown. Austin Eckler has no touchdowns.
Oh.
Gerald Everett has 2 touchdowns and 4 catches, and Matt Ryan somehow figures out to have
Excuse me.
a.
Sorry.
Matt Ryan somehow figures out to throw a ball, get it deflected back, and catch it and have 1 reception.
I apologize to
That's
you,
how-
Steve.
You'd win over a
haven't
million
seen
easy.
that.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
That's how much this game doesn't matter to me because we all know who's winning this game. It's not even like I put it like this. I really just have to turn it on at halftime because anything the Colts do in the first 2 quarters means nothing.
Doesn't matter.
Brian, how about why don't you actually bet that with $10, and if you hit,
If we hit, I will buy. I'm not even kidding. I will buy a building for productive conversations with that $1 million.
dude, that would change everything. Please do that. I quit my
Okay.
job on the spot.
I will buy a piece of land, design it myself, get the tax credit so we're all good, and buy everything, build it, and we'll have our own
like
little
Pat
justice.
McAfee spot.
Yeah, like a justice. Yeah, like a warehouse. It looks like a warehouse in Brooklyn, very vibey. Okay, we'll have a nice little barn doors, open barn doors. It'll look good. That's how much that's gonna hit. I have faith.
Yes,
I have faith.
Let's change our lives with that one, please.
I'm just gonna go Chargers winning by 21. I
Oh,
think
all right. That's the high one so far.
No,
absolute beat down.
no.
I'm gonna go high. I'm going high. I'm going 21 with the Chargers.
I'm gonna keep with my prop bet ways. I got the ghost of Christmas past and Phillip Rivers coming back and haunting both these quarterbacks. I got both quarterbacks throwing 3 picks.
The
But
ghost
how
of
much
the
did the Chargers win
quarterback.
by, Alex? You gotta tell us.
The Chargers
Oh,
win
I'm sorry. Hold on. I got them winning by 10.
by
All right.
10 and both
That's the
quarterbacks.
low one.
3 picks. We gotta throw that into the parlay now too.
I want 3 picks from both.
Please. Let's definitely start that funding account. But all right, gentlemen, that'll conclude this edition of the Productive Conversations podcast. Everybody have a wonderful holiday weekend. We have Christmas and Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and Festivus. We have them all in the next few days, so it's going to be a good time. But happy holidays, gentlemen, and we'll see you soon.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Be good. Peace.
Merry Christmas. All right.
All right, stop recording. Oh.